Hello and welcome to Spotlight live on GRAPPL Patreon. I'm JP.
And I'm Matty.
And yes, you'll notice we are Ben-oless, as we will be for a couple of weeks. He's taking, I would say, a well-earned break, but I mean, he has been able to sun himself on beaches in Thailand at various times.
Yeah.
But he has been doing a shit ton of recording, as we can all absolutely attest to. So, yeah, mate, we're holding the fort, aren't we, for the time being?
Yeah, the inmates are running the asylum, JP, as it once old saying is still more prevalent to this setup, I'd say, mate. But we're doing proud, as I say. He is actually on a break, though, as you say, going on his holidays in between his holidays. So he's a good man, and as you say,
style.
it's probably better than that, JP. Probably, but we'll save that for a film club down the line. But yeah, well in break, and obviously he's been putting loads in lately as well, even more than he does any other time. So a well-earned break, I will say. But we will hold the fort down, JP, as only we can, I'd say, my friend.
Exactly, yes. And you know, we don't ever, there's very few times that me and you actually get to record together, isn't it? Doing Spotlight. It's actually it feels like it's quite a rarity. I get quite excited by it. Not in that way, but like I always feel like it's like one of those things that, because we rarely ever get to do this, and particularly around like a sort of a big WWE show. I'm really looking forward to it. But just to update you all as well, we've done several shows. The last of which we did was Carl Gack's King of the Mountain pick, which was the last of ECW. Because if you say the death of ECW, people think you're either like on about the bloody book or you're on about the documentary. But no, we did the last of ECW, which was the last episode on TNN. Main bulk of the review was the last pay-per-view, which was Guilty as Charged. And then even a little bit of the last ever show ever, the fan cam, which is borderline unwatchable at points, as any fan cam is as well. But yeah, we enjoyed that one, didn't we, Matty?
Ah, mate, I mean, Carl's obviously our ECW historian / correspondent / legend, as I quoted them on the intro to that. But yeah, it was always great to dive into ECW and the end and discussing, like, as you say, JP, or how much of it can we cuss on this, JP? How much of a what was Paul Heyman? What was he, JP?
What?
In that end of ECW, mate, I mean, he wasn't a nice bloke, was he? Let's be honest with you.
Hey, absolute fucking chancer, wasn't he? He just disappears. Disappears. He's a complete non-entity in it. The role of Paul Heyman is played by Don Callis for bits.
Yeah, and JP, it's the only time listeners will ever hear me say like a lot of positive things about Tommy Dreamer. If that's a selling point, go and check it out, guys, because in there in the ring, holding it together backstage and actually paying the talent. I mean, he done it all, Tommy, in the last couple of months, to be fair to him, so we'll give him that.
He had me at the drop toe hold into the back of the steel chair, but he was it's a great show. There's some mad fashion choices, and if you love all things ECW, and we've covered quite a lot of ECW at this stage, really looking forward. You'll love it. You'll have an absolute cracking time for that. But that isn't the only show that we've gone out. There is a special show coming out on Sunday, Matty.
There is, and in tribute to Benno, and even with Benno's blessing, this was, JP, we're going to kind of do it retro style each week here this month with Benno being away. So we're going to drop here the next week's show, each spotlight going forward. And in the can, we've got a very, very special, JP, very much close to mine and Gareth's hearts. You'll get the genesis of of why the podcast comes to fruition on the actual show itself. But yeah, it's me and Gareth doing a film club, JP. Sorry, without you, mate. I know you're the man behind the film club, but me and Gareth have drafted in the one and only Martin Bushby for the film club. So if anyone knows Martin and knows his tastes, it is a Metallica, some kind of monster, JP, from 2004. Brilliant. Yeah, so I think it came up on my 5-to-1 documentaries when we done the pick and mix show. So Gareth was in. We had that brainstorm, as I say, you'll hear on the show about how we got Martin involved. But honestly, JP, I know, like, obviously love recording with yourself and the lads, but you have them shows, don't you, where you literally finish like late and you're buzzing. And I wanted to check more Metallica out. I just couldn't get to sleep till like 1 a.m. last night, JP. Genuinely, I was fucking buzzing, and it was great stuff. And I know it is kind of a niche thing, music, like film club guys, but I really hope you can check it out, because we had a real good time and a blast there with that one. So Sunday, that is getting released, JP. Yeah, you are right, mate.
It is. It's such a great documentary. I've got a load of thoughts. I can't wait to listen to it.
Yeah.
There's bits with Dave Mustaine from Megadeth, which is just an incredible piece of like just having the camera in the room.
Yeah,
it is. Even Lars Ulrich talking about Napster and being able to talk about that in depth as well. It's just a shame about the album as much as anything else, apart from like
apart from the Saint Anger song, JP.
And Saint Anger, that's it.
I like Frantic as well, which I'll go into on the show, but it's just a time of, like, without giving too much away, you know, even if you're not fans of Metallica or metal music, guys, like, just give it a go, or give the documentary a watch. It's generally one of the best documentaries. It's almost like the music version of Wrestling with Shadows, JP. Genuinely is. They managed to capture so much going on at one particular time. As you say, it's in between the Napster lawsuit. It's in between the bassist Jason Newsted leaving, so they're looking for a new bassist. They've got a new album to come out. They haven't had an album or a tour in like 3 to 5 years. It's Metallica in limbo, and you wouldn't expect that of one of the biggest bands of all time. But it's really, really good. So I hope everyone can check the documentary or this show where we talk about it, mate.
Well, one of my sons, Max, is a big Metallica fan, and I'm gonna send him across.
Send him the RSS link, JP. Get him in there, mate.
Well, I don't know, because I was going to say one of the things you can do is buy them for £3 on Patreon.
Is this your version of Billy Gunn not selling for his fucking kids?
I've given him enough money. Yeah. I think like he can put £3 for all those pints he's having in Cardiff as we speak.
Yes.
So like he'll be able to do that. So you can buy them individually, and this would be one if you're a Metallica fan and you're not a subscriber, you can get yourself there as well. I think we're on a run of form in terms of some great shows, particularly with Dealer's Choice that we had, and then we had the tier list that was out as
still going on, JP. That is still causing absolute, and it's not to do with the wrestling. It's not even the snacks at this point, JP. It's the bourbons. That's what it is, mate. Yeah. We need to try and get a sponsorship somewhere, JP. Fucking hell.
Which brand of bourbons? I know I've got 2 different packs in there as well, and I'm buying them just out of sheer bloody minded spite for some of the people who are very, very wrong in their slander. And as I said on the Sunday in the pre-show, we don't get Stone Cold Steve Austin without bourbons. That's my working theory. That was the thing that Lady Blossom sort of sent it over the edge.
Yes,
I'll maintain that as well. Influenced the colour of tights that he was wearing.
And as you say, JP, you can go out there in spite and buy 5 packs if you want. It's not going to break the bank and cost you an arm and a leg, mate. That's why great as well. Exactly. Tick every box, mate.
Everyone's forgotten about the cost aspect. They're just taking that for granted, and it's just like, what, fucking £2 fucking cakes every time? What are we wiping our asses with tenors here, lads? Come on. Still a cost of living crisis going on in there at the same time. So yeah, that is still a debate. And if you haven't joined the Discord, I would always say join that there as well. And then obviously this weekend we're going to be doing the WrestleDream preview, and then Spotlight. It'll be sort of very AEW heavy, and that's more or less me saying that tonight will be very AEW light, apart from some of Matty's thoughts on the card, which I don't even know if you know what's on the card.
I have given a glance to it, JP. I mean, I'll go into it later on. Once I found out what the fucking main event was, I was, this main event in nearly 2026? Jesus Christ, and people are just buying it, and people say the Fed's bad. We'll go into that in a bit, JP. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. By all accounts, I'm being told very heavily I need to be arguing with you tonight. There'll be some possibly
have a debate, JP. Of course,
there'll be a debate, but it's all done with love.
But also, JP, as you say, that's coming up, and as I say, this month is going to be, we're going to be announcing the show each week. A few special guests in there. It's going to be a Frankenstein month, JP, and I can promote spooky season because Benno's not here. He's not going to tell me off. So it's kind of a Frankenstein month. So hopefully everyone enjoys it, and I'll put my heart and soul on the line, JP, and say people will enjoy these shows. So that's what we're all about here. Yeah.
Sophia, give me the big old vote of confidence there. JP is doomed already. Expect that might well be the case, which probably is as good a time as any to go into. I mean, one of the shows this week, it was a monster weekend of shows that were out there.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a big New Japan show, TNA or Timu Mania, as I like to think of it, had Bound for Glory, but there was another little show that was happening on Saturday afternoon. I made sure to listen to your great initial reaction video. You were one of the first people out there with one of those. As we had WWE Crown Jewel Perth on Saturday from the RAC Arena. I'm assuring, I know maybe the AAA forum, the AA forum was being booked at that particular point in time. As we had Crown Jewel in front of a very hot and very yellow crowd, it had to be said, for this one, wasn't it?
Oh, Cena must be getting them extra zeros in that bank on them checks at the end of each month. JP, Jesus Christ, that was some sight though, wasn't it? Genuinely, it was good to see. It was like, and as you say, you touched on the fans there, JP. They actually come and got involved and enhanced the show without hijacking it and taking it over. They genuinely had a good time and not made it about themselves. I thought the fans were brilliant all night, like, as well.
They were. There was a couple of other things they did. It was actually one of the final points I had down on here, which still, it made me laugh because I'm a bit of a prick like this. The booing of the US national anthem now, which seemed to completely horrify some people. And it's just like, that is something that, you know, I don't think, for God bless our American listeners. We've always had some very lovely American listeners, but there has to be this understanding that the US isn't the most popular country in the world, and you might have to look at the troll in chief who causes infinite amount of grief because they were booing that national anthem as well, and it was a strange scenario. And then we had the post game, and I found this infinitely funnier as when Triple H is sat there with the panel as well. You had what was it? They were
We Want Edge.
We Want
Edge. Yeah.
Singing Metalingus as well. With MJF chants were there as well at the same time. We also had what was it? Shit cunts.
Yeah, it was. They would ask us a shit cunt when Rhea was sitting there. Yeah, they were chatting that as well. And it's one of them, JP, as we've said on here, like you guys have said, like Triple H is obviously banished them presses where he doesn't like getting questions asked. He's going to ban them soon because if the fans keep on, like, that's their way of getting the voices heard. But I'd rather that than like them hijacking the show in a way, kind of thing. So I'd rather that to Triple H, and he did need it. As I've said myself, he did need, like, you know, maybe not We Want Edge back, but like he did need a bit of a kick up the arse, and hopefully the fans in a certain ways are getting them to do that. But this show was a reset, which we'll go into, JP, on that positive momentum going forward, especially from myself, mate. I fucking had a great time with this one.
Yeah, if you say so, mate.
Well, this, JP, this is where it's like, and I get it, this is where, like, the emotional attachment comes in and the fandom comes in. But even if, like, we're being, you know, and I'm not, like, playing a bit there, I was genuinely, like, that's why I was so happy. Because for the last few months, I've been so let down. I've been so disappointed. I've been clinging to little bits here and there on the show. That was the first show, start to finish, JP, in a good few months, in a good while, maybe even this year, JP.
I was going to ask you that question.
That I was so happy all the way through it. It was giving me what I wanted from the WWE, from the Fed, from what I love. It was giving me it all in one night, JP. Like, it was genuinely, I was fucking made up with it, mate. Really.
There is an argument that this is the best PLE they've put on in 2025.
Yeah,
I think you could argue that case for this. I think there's reasons for that as well. Not all of them are to do with necessarily storyline basis, but in terms of fan service, I think there were things that they actually did that are going to be some people, and maybe not me, because I think there's probably going to be that dividing line if you're not into WWE as much, say like me, you're not really going to be convinced, even if you can enjoy aspects of this show. And then if you are into WWE, then it felt like they gave you what you wanted. That was kind of very much my kind of like impression of them. I mean, Simon's saying in here that it was a low bar to clear, and it was still just a show.
But that shows you that shows you the. I don't know. Simon was a converted Fedhead at the end of last year as well, so he kind of disappoints me there. But it's like you said, JP. It is. It's everything. You got a bit of the story, and maybe like it is. You know, people are going to look at it and go, "What? They're just treading the bloodline storyline again. They're going with Seth Rollins again." Yeah, it's the same cast of characters, but we haven't been getting that. We haven't been getting much of that, JP. We've been, as I say, we got the story development. We got the actual good in-ring matches as well for me. And I know AJ Styles and John Cena will divide a lot of people. But I always say, if you, like I've said that on my reaction video, I want to keep, the more removed from the match I am, the more I'm even committed. If you didn't have a good time watching that, like, Jesus Christ, where's your heart? Where's your soul? Genuinely, like, that was just fucking, that was lovely for me. Loved it.
Well, where do you want to start with this show? Because in some ways, I don't want to start off doing this chronologically, because I don't think that sort of like. Well, I say you could start off certainly with the first match, but you're going to find yourself sort of jumping around at bits and pieces. Which one do you want to start off with first?
Yeah, well, we'll go with the first match, JP, and with Roman Reigns versus Bronson Reed in the Australian street fight, JP. Eerily similar to every Chicago street fight or insert city / town. Although we did get the cricket bat in there, JP. That did crack me up. It did. It was a good little spot. That, and Roman just seemed to be having the time of his life, like, genuinely, and that was good to see. He's got a spring in his step again. Even though obviously I've been reading the reports online, I don't know how true they are, that he was like so jet lagged after like the Street Fighter stuff, JP, back and forth, and obviously with his real life condition as well, he's been feeling a bit tired lately and such like that. So God bless him. Obviously, hope he's all good. But he was having the time of his life, and you know, we got the big surprise at the end, JP. We got a big bit of story back there with Jay obviously spearing Roman Reigns by accident through the table. And Bronson Reed actually getting a 1-2-3 victory over Roman Reigns, only the second man this decade to pin Roman Reigns in a one-on-one match. So, you know, all about we're so far removed from the WWE squashing people and burying people in the hometowns and countries. I mean, Bronson Reed going over Roman Reigns, mate. What did you think of that? Did you think that shock you?
I didn't expect the full, you know, the times we saw Jonah Rock in the UK, one of the things I wouldn't have expected was that he'd be going over Roman Reigns anytime soon, because it always felt kind of like slightly underwhelming. But he's the way they booked him as a monster. I mean, the stuff that I kind of, in terms of my thoughts of the match itself,
yeah,
like, don't get me wrong, like, it was a pretty basic hardcore match. Like, for what it was,
even
it was never going to be much more than that. The cricket stuff I laughed, particularly Wade Barrett talking about Steve Smith and Ricky Ponce, and he had a pretty decent cover drive on him as well. Like, he wasn't swinging it like a baseball bat. It looked like he was defending his crease, quite tight there as well. So I did kind of have a laugh. I mean, there were bits of this that kind of followed almost like what you'd expect, because it's a 5-match card. They are going to give things plenty of time, so you have your sort of your slow walk and brawl and things like this. Again, you mentioned about the crowd just absolutely lapped it up. That's what really surprised me. I thought there'd be a bit more division simply because of Bronson Reed being Australian, but we never got that.
No,
it was very much pure Roman in there as well. I did find that it was just too long for me, and I found it quite slow. And then when it got to the interference in there, I mean, and you're going to have a very different take for me. I mean, thing that I come away with thinking about this is that it's more a reflection on the creative in WWE, that it's we want to go back to what has been our most successful storyline in recent years in terms of the bloodline. And we're going to go back to that, and we're going to do a little bit of rejigging, and this is the direction that we're going to go in. And I think it's somewhat of a damning indictment of the way they booked Jey Uso, in terms of feeling that, are we going to be getting a heel turn with him? I'm sure you're going to fill me in on the story.
That's what I'm going to do straight away, JP.
on this as well. But it felt very Samoan world. We are back very much in the days of Samoan world order stuff in there. And it's one of the things that it is much like, you think of the dates that you have with Roman Reigns, and it is rather limited. And I think it's just going to be limited until the day he retires, just simply as you mentioned, because of his condition.
Yeah.
And also probably because if Street Fighter is any kind of a success and he's recognized of it, he's going to do more films. That is a natural kind of career path that would work better for him, and in terms of like, you know, the work he has to do. So yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm not. But tell me why I'm wrong about the story.
No, that's it, JP. It's like with people like Roman's obviously come back after WrestleMania, and he's obviously been tied in with the Vision, and obviously the end game, which we this is why it's so good though, JP. That's why I feel like the Fed is back, because you're saying there we will flip flop over the place, but all these characters are linked. So forgive me if I do get flip flopped over the place. I'll try and rein it in a bit, because they are. It's like he was coming back in after WrestleMania. He's tied in with the Vision. The end game was to get to him and Seth at the end. People have the reservations about that. That's fine, but that's the direction we were going. So he comes back in with Jey Uso at SummerSlam, doesn't he? And then he has the stuff with Bronson. So it has been kind of, I know what you're saying about the bloodline, but the bloodline really hasn't stopped, JP, especially with the Jey Uso side of it. I said this on a show a couple of weeks back, whether you like him or not, him and Cody, and I'd say even more Jey, have been the most like consistently used characters. You know what I mean? They've been consistent with their characters and their development and their story throughout the last 3, 4, 5 years, even with Jey Uso, even longer than Cody. So I'm always going to have the affinity to that, as listeners will be aware of that. But I just think it was just a nice little way to get that unexpected finish as well, JP. Like, we have been building Jey Uso up as like he's turning into Roman Reigns on TV, and Jimmy's is seeing this, and even Roman is kind of seeing it and egging him on in ways and stuff like that. So it was refreshing for me, / whatever word you want to use, to see that like, you know, misfire again, and see him cost him Roman, and just seeing Roman come out of it different at the end of the match. JP usually be hollering and screaming and upset and fucking fuming and going for fisticuffs. He was kind of just telling them, really, listen, you know, I don't want you around, kind of thing. I'll see you at Christmas. Obviously, his little way of saying you mightn't see me now until just after the Rumble.
Well, literally the 25th for dinner. Yeah.
Literally got a kick out of that. But it is, JP. It's like, as you're saying there, I can see why people, obviously, I'm not like closed-minded and just got my eyes shut, my ears shut. I can see why people are like, oh, this shit again, and still even. But there's a reason for me as well why they're going back / sticking with this, because it has been the most successful storyline and stuff like that. So, and we didn't really, it's still ongoing, which I want to see, obviously. But I think it's good, JP. But obviously, the match itself wasn't amazing. I just had a good time with everything coming out of it, and the story, as people would expect with that.
I mean, the crowd, I mean, for me, the match, if we're giving it a star rate, it'd be 3.25. Like, I wouldn't be going kind of like overboard for it as well. Like I say, for me, it sort of just dragged a bit. It's just that when I look at that, like, it is a signal that the Jey Uso push has somewhat failed. If you think about at WrestleMania, which you were at,
yeah,
and he was the most over person there. And I'm not a fan, never have been. I've always had issues about the work stuff, even going back to SummerSlam 24, was it? Where he was
23, JP?
23.
Yeah.
And that felt like that was the end of, like, there was that really hot period they were on, and then that match kind of, for me, sort of stalled a few things into it. The fact, though, that they're having to kind of go like we are teasing a Jey Uso heel run here, and it has been something that's been mentioned, and that has to be a damning indictment, surely, Matt.
But that's why I see it differently, JP. Once again, I can see why people like, but I can see that's part of the character and that's part of the story. I know I keep using that word story, but it literally is. It's like, and Andy in the chat is saying he had a busted title run, and you can look at it like that, but you can look at it also, like I've said, is that he was so full of emotion beating Gunther. He is a tag team wrestler at heart. He had to do this on his own. If we're talking strictly wrestling storylines here, he's had to go out on his own and build his own character from the ground and build his own career from the ground again, winning the Intercontinental title, overcoming a big bad boss in Gunther. And then that's the story they played on television when he was the champion, that he really wasn't ready for it. It was just emotionally he got the title. He wasn't ready to lead the company. He wasn't ready to be world champion in the story. And that's how they played it. He had Heyman coming out doubting him. He was doubting himself. And then obviously first time back round again when the emotion's out of it, and he has won the big one. Gunther beats him, and like that's in in real life you can say it was because of the Goldberg stuff, which it was. But in story, I can see how they told it that way as well. But the only thing with the heel run is JP, I like it because it's fitting, the arc, and he's turning into Roman per se, or he's the devil on the shoulder, whatever you want to call it. It is, I do think it is a bit, and hopefully they do play it out a bit. It is, as you say, getting one of your most over people and flipping them like that and seeing how it works. That's my kind of thing, but it fits with the story that they're telling. So yeah, I'm a bit conflicted on that one, but we'll see how. I don't want to be that guy, let it play out, JP, but that's all we can do at this point, mate. That's all we can do.
I would normally agree with you on the let it play out sort of aspect of this, except we have been letting it play out for several years.
And JP, I'm not a baseball enthusiast. What innings are we in now, mate? I mean, I don't know what innings we're in with it.
It is one of these things. I mean, obviously in the chat, some people are very like just sort of going back to this, because I think there's in some ways it's wanting to see if because we're reminded by it through history, like you see about these like long successful angles, and then the idea of bookers going back to it, and the most obvious comparison is an NWO one and the various kind of incarnations towards the end, that involve a Jeff Jarrett and a Bret Hart and things like that. And you're kind of like thinking, okay, a lot of this stuff is just sort of rearranging it around. And this is where I go back to the creative aspect, because when saying about Roman Reigns before, I'm there thinking, why aren't we going Roman Reigns Punk? Why aren't we thinking of going Roman Cody? Why aren't we going into Roman versus Bron Breakker? Which I did like the spot. I thought we were going to get the barricade spot, and then when he came out there as well, and he absolutely looks the part. I did think to myself, I was like, oh, okay, so what's going to happen? And you mentioned about the Rollins stuff. We're going to talk about that in a bit, but that feels like it's incredibly complicated by what happened on Raw, which obviously is to sort of cover up the injury, of which we don't know too much about in there at the moment. But yeah, I'm like,
JP, I can see it.
God love you for defending it.
Yeah, this is like, as I say, this is your favorite TV show in season 7 where people are clinging on. I can see people's videos, but for me, I want season 27, mate. Genuinely, give me it all, and then some. Give me it in my veins, JP.
Just what you want is basically what you're saying is you don't want those classic Simpsons episodes. You want new Simpsons all the time. And I'm made to watch new Simpsons, and by God, is it like I don't laugh once. It's just like, I kind of vaguely smile at some parts of it. So yeah, I suppose following on from there, if you want to talk about really what is the high point of this show and the thing that's kind of got definitely most of the conversation, and definitely got the biggest reaction there as well, and that was John Cena, his 5th last date he has with the company against his handpicked opponent, which none of this used the TV build at all. It just seemed to be John Cena saying, I want to wrestle AJ Styles, and so they gave him AJ Styles. And I would say for this one, like I had a good conversation with Joe Lemon about this as well, previously of this parish. And one of the things that we spoke about for this is it's like watching sort of like Wolverine versus Deadpool, is what he said, in the sense that this is something that's happening completely in a vacuum, and it's like an in-Joker-palooza, to go back to that very popular name there as well. Self-referential, like kind of like quite silly for it as well. But when you've got a crowd like this, and it seemed to be, this got the biggest reception of everything else, and I'm including Rhea Ripley. I don't think it got a bigger reception than Rhea Ripley did by quite some margin. Yeah, I have to say in there. It is, I have to say, it's good fun. Yeah. There's probably, I'm assuming though, you're higher on it than me when it comes to like
JP,
what you got.
And I know fun can be used like derogatory or a bit dismissive or a bit and maybe, but this was the definition of it for me. And as you say there, with it being one of Cena's last dates, where it was like, let's just give him a match. It was perfect for that even. Like, you can forgive the lack of build for it because the story was inbuilt. It was Styles just doing a couple of promos, and we all wanted to see this probably more than we wanted to see the Orton, the Brock, the fucking R-Truth stuff. We all wanted to see this. We all had that familiarity more as a fandom with this match. And you couldn't have got away. You couldn't have got away with this if it was any other two people. Like, you couldn't have. It was perfect, JP, for what it was at this stage of the game, especially with John Cena. And you know, I was massive on the Cody match at SummerSlam and big on the Logan Paul match even as well at Clash, because that was the old John Cena. That was the Super Cena. But like, him knowing in real life as well, I've only got a few of these left, and giving you everything he's got at this stage, which was even more than I thought he had, JP. And you know me, I'm not the biggest Cena fan. I keep repeating this in every conversation I have about the man, but this one for me, like, it was the definition of fun. And I know it's stupid, silly, you can throw all them words at it, but I just shut off with all that because I was just having a great time, JP. I know, and even for me, like, there was a one too many, maybe more have sat in over a few days, maybe one too many of the tribute to wrestling and tribute to past history and rivalries and such, but all that gets forgotten, JP, from the minute John Cena dropped old AJ Styles on the middle rope. I was going for the 619, mate, if you didn't get a laugh out of that. Because you know, for a fact, he's going to hit that against Dominic in San Diego. You know he's going to hit it, and it'll pop at the fucking world when he hits that 619, John Cena. Mark my words, JP, he will hit that against Dominic Mysterio if that's the match at Survivor Series. And I'm telling you, the place will go bananas. And that's what it's about this stage of the game. It's me into John Cena thinking, right, he's going out there, he's doing what he wants. Lovely touches as well with the ring announcements as well. AJ didn't have a clue about that, did he, JP? And Cena handwritten that for the announcer to
that was nice.
AJ. That was lovely. It was. Yeah. And even AJ coming out in the old TNA gear, the TNA law with the choker and stuff like that. And obviously seen on Twitter that our mate Ian Andrew Dice Clay, it was like the first episode of TNA on Spike that AJ dusted that out, and maybe a Bound for Glory main event. So it's a special attire for AJ. You know, people are into the attires and such, like, so it's a good bit of law there. I just thought from start to finish, JP, it's that. I used the word fun, I used the word lovely. And even like, you know, and Cena was hitting some of them moves, JP, better than he hit some of his own moves. Like, the RKO was perfect. The Sister Abigail was fucking unbelievable. Like, honestly, and that was a nice moment as well with the fans there, with Bray Wyatt and stuff. So, honestly, JP, this was obviously not the greatest match of all time. I know people are wanting to pile in on that, but it wasn't about that. Like, let's get our brains away from all this fucking great match stuff. And I know for once I can just don't want to sound like Bully Ray, but just enjoy that moment for what it was, because it was lovely. If you didn't get that, I just don't know what you want anymore. Genuinely, it was, and that's me who never liked John Cena, and I've been swelled up in it. Like, genuinely, it was. I loved it.
So it's not match of the year. For me, it wouldn't be. Will it be one of the matches I remember at the end of the year? Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
I also think as well, what you've got here, and this is one of the things about when they do an international show, and in some ways, this show, because of the nature of the Crown Jewel concept and the Crown Jewel belt holders and everything else, makes it feel like kind of like a forbidden door, dare I say it, where the stakes, like what you think of as a traditional forbidden door, not the one that we went to at the O2. But it feels like kind of relatively low stakes stuff, like ultimately in the scheme of things for some of the like other matches. Now there were events from that kind of came on, but anyway, I digress. If you've got two fellas, one of whom is retiring including that match 5 dates time, and you've got the other fella retiring at the end of the following year, what should they be doing? Because you're not watching a match that's going to be reflective of a future direction of the company, because it's kind of a waste of time. The AJ Styles should just be going out like in 2026 and kind of just having really good matches against a varied amount of opponents. And that's what that kind of retirement should be. It doesn't need to be too much more. You give him a title shot, do things like that, but really you don't need to be spending like a whole lot of real estate on that. It just needs to be a giggle. And this was a crowd that were absolutely geared up for it, because they knew it was his last overseas appearance. So they were going to go and make as much noise as
And
humanly
t-shirts,
possible.
JP, we need to go back to that as well, don't we? The amount of seen a yellow t-shirt, it was like to rob a line off my good friend Hamlet, our good friend. It was like a home end of a football ground, wasn't it? Home end section. It was unbelievable. And then because even like Steph coming,
they've gone to Carrow Road, mate. That's where they've gone, haven't they? The amount of yellow.
But Steph come in, like genuinely from work as that match was on, because obviously it was a Saturday afternoon show. Got to get that in there even more. Love it. And like she said, bloody hell, all the yellow t-shirts. And that was just the little section where I said, wait till the camera pans up. And it was even more of a great visual. It was unbelievable. It just added to it. I say the fans were love Styles, love seeing it. And I say this was the hottest they were as a collective and individually all night, mate. Definitely.
Yeah. And what it delivered on was just kind of fan service. And because, and this is the thing with international audiences, and I think sometimes this gets forgotten about how big TNA was. Because TNA would have been one of those, and I don't know about how much coverage it had in Australia, but I'm assuming if it was anything like the UK had an important TV deal in terms of being on Challenge, so people were very familiar with TNA, and AJ Styles was always the one that stood out from there as well. It's like Mr. TNA. So there's that element of the dream match stuff with WWE and TNA. So when he's busting out like the Angel's wings and so on, the flux capacitor, I'm just there thinking, okay, this is again, that's the self-referential silly stuff. I mean, Chris in the chat here kind of sums it up really nicely, which is 3-star match, but 5-star entertainment. And for these two guys, the 5-star entertainment is the most important aspect of it. I can see that bit. Like, you couldn't watch. I watched this with a smile on my face.
Yeah.
I didn't come away thinking afterward. I didn't, the Michael Cole standing up, one of the great matches and stuff. That's just over-egging the pudding, as they like to do about this stuff on here. But it was something that it's the most enjoyable part I've seen on his retirement tour. I can't think of anything else that comes to mind that's been more fun than this. And obviously the story, but they're on a long plane ride. They're planning the fuck out of this. Good luck to them. And they absolutely did. And it worked.
But also,
when he did Sister Abigail, and then everyone gets up the cameras and stuff like this. And, someone who isn't a Bray Wyatt fan, I can understand, though, why that is so important.
And this is it, JP, and that's why I think the show for me was great in the fact of like this match. It weren't just let alone just a burial of how bad like a PLE's been over the past year or so, or like there's just been zero conversation. It's just been bad and done. This at least as well, apart from being a great show for me all around, this was a divisive match for even like yourself, JP, who isn't invested, and other people have seen. It's like it's watch this and give an opinion on it. I love that side of it as well, because it was, as you say, that type of match that will get an opinion regardless, a smile on the face or whatever, mate. So, yeah, I did. I honestly just, as you say, just had a laugh. That 619, JP, I'm telling you, when he set that up, I belly laughed, genuinely. But if he hits that, the place will go bananas at our Survivor Series, and I'm fucking really hope he hits it, I tell you.
He will do. And it'll work. And I would say also Dominic Mysterio is kind of a perfect opponent in many ways. And it's Cena
who's never had the IC belt. You can play that up. He's going for the Grand Slam. And Dominic, who is on the upward trajectory again, he's holding his own, mate. People were laughing when I say he'll be a future world champion. I'm telling you, he's going to be one of the fucking... Oh. He's a fucking ace, mate. He's fucking brilliant, JP. Like, he is fucking...
Oh, we've been speaking about, like, say, Andrade getting signed by AEW as being, like, it's the white whale of trying to find that Hispanic star that's going to connect in the way that a Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero did. It's Rey's son. It's Dominic Mysterio. That's your big Hispanic star. Is he born in the US? Yeah, but he speaks fluent Spanish. He should be AAA mega champion for the longest amount of time, and and that's a good bit of booking. That's the kind of matches that they should have been putting together, as opposed to things say like the Brock match, which ultimately that's come and gone, and we're not going to see him until
that was terrible,
the Royal
JP.
Rumble.
Everything.
There's all of the baggage that comes with as well. And so I suppose in some ways, seeing a match like this, which didn't have any baggage and kind of delivered that fan service. And, on post wrestling, when they did the review, they said it's like watching a slam dunk contest, basically. It's kind of inconsequential, which it is in the grand scheme of things, but it delivered in terms of the entertainment. So I'd agree with you on that. Where do you want to go to after that?
I mean, we've got to go straight to the main event and the follow-up, JP. The man of the hour, of course, Seth freaking Rollins. I mean, I mean, you're saying there, and like the two Crown Jewel Championship match, I'm not into that at all, JP. I'm not into that. Like, you know, it's crap. It is. But for two different matches for the men's and women's this year, at least we had the women's was kind of a face v face exhibition-y type match, which if you're going to do it for the silly belt, that's acceptable. But for the men, for me this time, you had the inbuilt story, the inbuilt fact of like Seth Rollins has never beat Cody Rhodes, and he was more focused on that than he was on winning this fucking Crown Jewel champion. It just happened that he got the ring and belt, but he was more concerned about him actually beating Cody Rhodes for the first time. So I will give them that. They separated the two matches and the two things apart as well, which I did like. But the match itself, I was into the match, JP. I thought they had good chemistry, you know, which they had. The trilogy they had in 22 was good, I thought, and just some little stuff in here. But obviously, we got to go to the main spot of the match, which the coast to coast, JP, I called it straight away. He's done. Like he's definitely obviously injured himself. But Chris Elliott was the first one I seen. Our friend Chris here was saying, like, after doing that fucking fake injury story in the summer, now he's actually injured. People aren't just going to believe it, JP. That's why I think they're holding fire, aren't they? And pivoting creatively, because you dug your own hole when it comes to that side of it, mate, isn't it?
That's well, this is the thing. I mean, I have to say, as a match, I thought it was. I mean, I get there's the inbuilt story and stuff like that, but that feels like it's almost like from another world in many ways. It's from when Cody first came into the company, which I'm sure there's probably a statistic that says he's been in this WWE run's been longer than his entire run in AEW or something mad like that. I'm expecting to hear that. I wasn't as much into the match. That was at the point where I was kind of like starting to kind of like tap out from it. And I thought it was okay. I didn't know why he went for that move. Is that something he regularly does? Because it seems you're having to land on your arms, like, effectively, and it's so fraught with danger. I just didn't know why he kind of went for a move like that.
He usually is like
Seth. You could hear him holding it afterwards as well, and it was like, just like, oh, it's done.
Seth's usually like not safe in a way. Obviously, I don't mean it like that because obviously his history and such of injuring, but I don't mean it in that sense. He's usually quite safe, as in the fact you basically know what he's going to do in these big matches. But when it comes to Cody or like a WrestleMania, he will obviously bust different things out. It shocked me of the stuff they were trying. Even like the Cody cutter reversal into powerbomb, it was spots you don't usually see in a normal main event unless it is a WrestleMania. But these two obviously went above with some ideas to try and make this and more of an epic match, shall we say, JP? And that spot in particular, the coast to coast headbutt, like that proved it all to me. And like the stomp on the barricade as well, we got kind of stuff like that. So they were trying to go out there and have a better match, but that was such a dangerous, like, as you say, how'd you land off that? Like, at least with Shane and Van Damme, you're taking a back bump ultimately. It's safe, isn't it? Yeah. This, if you land flat, I say you're landing on a shoulder, your arms, it's a tough one. So yeah, not good.
Particularly for someone like Seth Rollins, who I think we can say at this point, and he's not getting any younger, but he is kind of injury prone. Like him getting injuries that take him out for a period of time now. We don't know what the injury is. I think the hope is that it's a clean break, and therefore they put it straight in plaster and it can heal.
He can be back in a couple of months in a GP.
Couple of months.
Yeah.
If it's the shoulder and it's ligament damage and things like that, then there's a whole series of plans that need to be changed. But they've already expedited and sped up the planning process, because on Raw we had a closing angle, and they did the thing that they love to do these days. They had the little WWE logo appear at the end, and then we had Bron Breakker spear Seth Rollins as the Vision. For how long have they been in existence for now as a faction?
You'd say the night after WrestleMania, really, JP. Yeah, so about 6 months.
6 months. Whole 6 months, they turn on Seth Rollins there, and there was some stuff that they kind of hinted about this on the show as well. And you would have thought it'd be a future direction, but 6 months seems ridiculously fucking quick.
But you know what, JP, that you're right, and it's sad in a way for me, like, because you know, even I'll admit the Vision, like it took a while for them to settle on a name, a good while. It took a while to settle on them having a bit of chemistry or figuring out the characters, the roles, and stuff like that in the group. You had the two bronzers like bouncers, JP, with sunglasses and suits. Terrible, like just dread that's the epitome of me checking out and nearly checking out in WWE and getting frustrated of like, what the fuck? This is lazy. That's what I kept saying. There's no spark. It was lazy, JP. So lazy. It was beyond belief, stuff like that. But even like I was texting Hamlet once again during the pay-per-view itself, and I was like, seeing Bronson beat Roman and like Bron assisting him and like being happy, and then I knew Seth would win in the main event. I knew Seth would win because the story he told. I actually said, this is the first night the Vision's actually feeling properly like a group. And then the next night they split up. It's weird, JP, genuinely, because they were getting that chemistry. They were getting away from the suits with Bronson, because Bronson had like the tribal thief stuff with Roman shoes, and Braun had his own shit going on. So they were kind of like meshing together in their own way. And then the next night, maybe possibly because of this injury, it's been sped up by about 6 months, hasn't it? Like, because we all expected the end game would be Bron Breakker to actually turn on Seth Rollins and stuff like that, but yeah, not this quick, mate. So it's I'm a bit conflicted on it, because I was gutted because they were finally getting together as a group, but then I'm excited because no one expected it at all, did they? And we're back, JP. For me, we're back. You know, we're full on like tune into next week. Let's see what goes on. And I haven't said it like publicly, but I haven't said it on the Discord. I haven't said it in none of our groups. I thought I'd save it for here. I really fucking hope this isn't like a swerve on CM Punk, and I really hope this leads to something creative other than that, JP, because that's in the back of my mind, that like they're putting them out to make them feel like that'd be the worst ever, JP. That would be bad, and I would be so angry at that, but I don't think it is, because even the way they put it on the YouTube, the Vision done ? I'm like, oh, that little hint of doubt maybe that it could be. I don't know, JP. I really hope they're done, and let's tune in to see how it plays out again.
It would be. This is the problem I have with it. If you turn him face, I think as a face, I don't know. Like for me, he doesn't work at all. He doesn't work as a heel. Really,
you can't do the Roman stuff, JP. You can't follow on that match and follow up on that, because it's dead in the water.
And if you have him suddenly being associated with what do you call him, with CM Punk, then that's of a sudden bad. That is fucking terrible. Like, and I don't think there's like you look at that and you just think to yourself, no, like that's just dreadful. And if it's a case of, well, they attacked me because I was injured so I could get sympathy and then take him on, it's just like, well, why don't you just wrestle him anyway? That's the problem with this, is as soon as you start to look at it, it feels like it's incredibly reactionary. And this is why I said the stuff about Bloodline earlier on as well, is it's just like looking at it going, this feels more like a damning indictment of the creative and about how the creative themselves are such a, it becomes very clear that they're under a bit of pressure and they're trying to expedite and just speed stuff up. And when they do it, it seems completely unnatural. There would have been a way of them being able to do where Seth Rollins is injured and those two lads like Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker start getting some big wins. And then there's the point of like, oh, when they come back, they're going to be gunning for his title. There would have been an easier story to do along those lines. And Seth Rollins is kind of like an extra mouthpiece along the way. And instead, by going to this, you're doing it for shock value. And it doesn't, for me, it doesn't work. It just feels, if I know Gareth in one of our group chats had like a list of 3 things that they would have in
there. Not Lee Moriarty, is it? So he's going on.
Well, but he had, what was it? He had Bloodline story, Swerve.
Yeah.
And I can't think of what the third one was. And 2 of the 3 have happened in like the space of a couple of days. So you look at that and you just think, Jesus fucking Christ! Like,
but JP, I can totally understand them takes and them views. But for me, I've been saying it for fucking weeks. I needed something, JP. I needed that spark, that little bit of lightning in me. You know what I mean? So I'll take a swerve or a reactionary bit of booking to keep me hooked for next week. I've been needing that, JP, and people moan about how boring it's been. Well, we get something like this, and then we'll see how, you know what I mean? Genuinely, it's like you can't win in some circles, and I get that. That's how some people are the way inclined and how they critique wrestling. That's fair play. But I have been stagnant with it. I've needed something, JP. And even that Bronson Reed win was the start of it. That's why I'm so excited about it all, that it encapsulated an upset win with a bit more story for me. And then you got this type of stuff, you know, reactionary to the injury. I'm guessing it is. So for me, I'm all in on it just because of them factors that I've been so fucking bored with it, JP, for a few months. Like, so
if only they could book a champion like the way that AEW books Hangman Page. That's all I'm saying.
Not giving him fucking terrible challenges, but we'll go into that going forward later on, JP. Jesus Christ.
Fucking, I'm expecting that row. I know that really wound people up. Completely took me by surprise. Like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck have I missed it? What have you said about him? He's a war criminal or something.
I only said that the Deadeye gets no pop, but I have to apologise for that because it was the fade to black. It was Kazarian's move. I shouldn't have even give Hangman Page the credit there, JP. That had nothing to do with it. It was the fade to black with it. So I apologise to Kaz of all people there.
A Kazarian. Well, we'll talk about Kaz in a little bit. A Kazarian pop isn't something that.
But like, JP, I think we can agree.
Ever.
We can agree, hopefully, that like if we get Bron Breakker going forward as focused on, you know, that's where we should be going. One of the end games should be him on the upward trajectory, 100%.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely. Like I wouldn't disagree, and I'd even say Bronson Reed.
Yeah, he's done well.
What they like is they like a monster, and the way he delivered the tsunami, in particular, it's the way that he goes up, and it's as soon as the second foot touches down, he's off. Yeah. I like that because there's like an instantaneous factor of how he delivers a splash, and he's like, and for what they want out of a monster, he ticks those boxes. Even when stood next to him, chatting to him about like Aussie rules and rugby league, he isn't the tallest player. He's the same height as me, and I'm not exactly that tall. I'm only 5'10". But anyway, I digress from that. In terms of the other matches, we had a couple of other matches on the show as well. I mean, I don't know which of the ones that you mentioned already about the women's Crown Jewel match. I suppose we can talk about that one relatively briefly. And that was Stephanie Vaquer versus Tiffany Stratton. And I think the way I viewed this one was as much that it was, like, say, different to the men's match. It was all about sort of like a mutual level of respect that these two had. But it's also two people who haven't really interacted with each other in any kind of like meaningful way. So it did have an exhibition feel, which in some ways was in fitting with what the belt and the gimmick kind of is here's these two champions. They're both relatively inexperienced on the main roster as well. And it's something to lead to future matches down the line. I thought it was a solid enough match. I think these two, if you're including then Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Io Sky, you know, you obviously can throw the Kabuki Warriors into the mix. I don't know if I'm forgetting anyone else in the meantime. What you have is you've got that next wave of what would be the big female stars.
Roxanne Perez, JP.
Roxanne Perez as well, like and in terms of using the, you know, Becky, Lottie, and Bailey as just your veterans in the division, and that's, for me, that's absolutely fine for this as well. I thought the landing of the corkscrew splash, as good as it looks, was a bit gnarly. It seemed like that would have hurt.
That would have killed JP.
Yeah, absolutely would have killed in there as well. But this wasn't something that overstayed its welcome. Again, I wouldn't go massively high star rating wise, but it was a little over 10 minutes. And that's kind of fine for what it is. And so therefore it never felt like the crowds didn't kind of completely die a death on this. There's things with Stephanie Vaquer, like promo wise, and it's not about like her English not being obviously not her first language. It's more about the kind of emotion that you want to show in a promo. And that wasn't there for me. But I'm hoping that will come with time and with a bit more experience as well, because she does have that kind of star look. And Tiffany Stratton is someone who is kind of like, in many ways, like there's a bit to go in ring, but I get it. I get why you'd invest in her, because as a character, she's massively over. Yeah.
And with Stephanie Vaquer, JP, the nickname I've given her, like, and it's an old wrestling, she's the total package. For me, she is like, as you said, well, obviously, like, the promos will come, the emotion side of it, but she's so likable. She carries herself well. The entrance is great. The look's great. The music's great. And in-ring work's great. She's just honestly the full package, like, genuinely is. And even the way she moves in the ring, JP, like, I'm looking at her, watching her differently to other wrestlers. Like, I'm fixated by her. Like, she just glides around the ring. And I thought
Oh, why are you saying the quiet part out loud then, Matty?
Erin Tiffy though, like, and Tiffy's one of them, rough around the edges. But I like that about her. She's not polished, you know, as though she does like some pretty moves and like the backflips and such. But she's not when it comes to, and she's a bit rugged, and I like that about her. So I thought they meshed a bit well. And as you say, like the swanton that Tiffy done, and she got her knees up and she took it on the back of her head. It's like stuff like that. It makes it look a bit more. Come on, that's like a bit more realer. And as you say, the corkscrew, which looks perfect in midair, and she landed a bit high on it, but it added like it actually ate it. That's what it should. It's good. It ate it. It's over. You know what I mean? So I thought they did. They had, as you say, short match on the in the grand scheme of things, considering like you'd expect maybe 15-20 minutes. But as you say, you can leave this for further down the line when you've got bit more of a feud / story going in. But yeah, I thought this was really good. I really enjoyed it, and right winner as well. I think Stephanie is on the upward climb, whereas Tiffy can take the L, but as you say, remains over. Has cooled off slightly in a way for me, but will obviously get back there again. And obviously she's had the belt since the beginning of the year, so she's in the midst of a long title reign. So yeah, she'll always be over JP. They're both young enough as well, so you've got years more to come. And as you say, the women's division is stacked, JP. We forgot about like when Liv Morgan comes back, how over she is. There's people you forget about, and when obviously Bianca comes back, and we'd even mentioned Jade Cargill is still a diamond in the process. Like, so there's a lot of
Alexa Bliss is over. I mean,
Alexa Bliss, there's loads.
It's one of the things, and I think AEW is getting to a place where they've done stuff with their women's division where the recognition of actually that's where the most growth is. That's where you've got the most chance of kind of like growing bits of your companies having a strong women's division. That, like, in some ways, it's like football. If you're going to invest in a football club, in many ways, there's only so much you can do around the men's side in terms of trying to grow even more. But the women's side, that's where the real growth can happen. And maybe that's the thing to happen here. I'm probably not as high as you on the overall match, but again, it was perfectly fine.
AJ Lee as well to come in, JP, in and out as well as your veteran, as you say, star type as well. So there's a lot to be used there, JP, and a lot you could do with the women's division. So I'm excited going forward.
Speaking of which, the final match on Crown Jewel to talk about here, we had overacting done at its almost absolute worst at points during this. I can't get my head around, and certainly in the build-up promo package.
I'm glad you said it out loud, JP. I've been skating around it. Yeah, I've been skating around it, scared. I've been saying I'm slightly down on it without going in two-footed. I mean, I get the story to tell. I can't see how people think this is great, JP. I can't. As you say, I'm with you. It's people say the bloodline's overacting. Jesus Christ, this is like times 50 on the overacting stakes here, like, for sure.
Weirdly, the Asuka overacting is somehow the most acceptable part of it.
Because that's part of the,
she's the extravagant heel. But Io Sky kind of like unable to walk without looking like she's breaking down and shaking like a shitting dog. And she's walking away, she's going to be in tears. And then the hugging between her and Rhea Ripley. And I thought this was interesting in the sense, and I thought this kind of ticked the boxes for what they kind of wanted from this. But I did think that the monster Rhea Ripley, and it probably would have been a better decision in some ways to put this on before the John Cena AJ Styles match, because that was like, for me, it felt like the crowd had burnt out so much energy for that when she came out, don't get me wrong, she's over. She's very over. But it wasn't that reception. It wasn't the monster Optus Stadium reception that we had the last time they were in Perth. Was it for elimination?
Nia Jackson, the main event.
Yeah, like it didn't have that for me, and that's kind of interesting. And like I say, the overacting takes like took me a bit out of it as well. And it just didn't have anything for me as a match that I thought was particularly great or memorable. That they were the things that I, like Chris says here in the chat, and I kind of have to agree with it. It's very much like telenovela. It's soap acting in the most kind of like obvious way.
Yeah, I mean, the match itself, JP, like I thought early doors, it was a solid tag match where they cut the ring off and they wouldn't let Rhea tag in, and they were working over Io. And Kairi Sane, like in the ring for me, JP, I loved her in this match. I thought she had some great stuff, that running blockbuster and stuff like that. She's fucking really fucking good for me. And love that type of stuff. Rhea got the tag in, and then it did drag on a little bit for me, JP. You could have shaved a good 2, 3, 4 minutes off this one and you could have achieved, you know, what it did ultimately achieve, but you could have done it a bit less time. But, you know, once again, as I said on my preview video, I think people are going a bit overboard on the build, but it is a bit ABC. It is back to basics for Triple H, and it is a storyline, which is obviously what we want. You don't just want cold matches, of course. So I get that, and I like that aspect of it. But I'm with you on the overacting and such, JP. But we'll see going forward. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good tag team match, and we move on. But yeah, I'm glad you went in before I did, JP, on the build and the acting.
Can't do it. They just can't act. Like, I was watching this and I was like,
even Rhea Ripley, JP, like me and you are the two high men on Rhea Ripley. Fucking love her, don't we? Yeah, I've been for years.
COVID,
yeah,
bloody like mania in the bit. It's just like, nah.
But even her acting and her promos need a bit of work. It's a good job. She is so over, and for me, good in the ring as well. Like,
yeah, there is going to come a point though that they're going to need to do some more interesting stuff with her. And I think that's probably like the next stage. They've gotten several people over within the women's division. I just think, like I say, it's those stories between them. What are the potential kind of singles matchups and things like that you can get into the mix and tag team wise that feel like it could be a bit more with a bit more meat on them rather than this stuff.
I think, JP, that's WrestleMania. I think Io and Rhea is WrestleMania. I think because you had the Rhea stuff, obviously the Judgment Day, she was part of that faction. You had the inbuilt Liv Morgan stuff with Dominic, and that carried her, as you say, and got her over. And now you're using that overness you've established, haven't you, to get into your next actual big storyline and feud. And it's the Io stuff, really. It's not like, because it is face v face, you know what I mean? It's not that big, massive. Like, maybe, you know, it's a good storyline in its own right. The fact that she lost the title, you know, shockingly before WrestleMania on TV to Io, and obviously didn't get it back, and has never beat her one-on-one. So I like that as a storyline, but I know what you're saying. She hasn't got that, like, proper stick your teeth into with something on the underline that you can always go back to. And I think that's what we'll get at WrestleMania. But ultimately, it's got to be a face-v-face match again, hasn't it? Because you can't turn a heel at this point, can you, JP? And Io, much to her credit, JP, is so over as well, so you can't turn her back heel. So you're gonna have to go with that face v face respect match at WrestleMania, where Rhea does in fact get a win over her finally. So in its own way, that is very good. But yeah, you want to see it.
I'm all right with that.
Yeah,
that doesn't seem like a problem to me. So that's I think that's everything for Crown Jewels. And see if there's any other little talking points gone into it. No, I think we've got most things. The Survivor Series card feels like it's all over the fucking
over the place now. I mean, did you believe Dave's teams he released? Because I didn't. Because I mean, Dave released the apparently the leaked lineup for the men's war games, didn't he, and the women's war games, and Brock Lesnar and Austin Theory on the heel team. I mean, I can't see, JP, I can't see them pivoting Brock Lesnar into division. I can't see that with the tie-in. But Austin Theory and Heyman obviously there with the bronze still. So yeah, so maybe.
Here's someone you throw into the division, just as a throwaway thing. Omos. I'll say this. I think he's not used in the slightest. I think there's some value that can get out of him. And even as just a visual of just a proper monster on the outside, that would be some use. Work rate, perhaps not, but doesn't matter. It worked for 911 in ECW in there as well.
Can I just answer Chris's question in the chat?
Yes.
Sorry, he's saying, what's worst acting, the Kabuki Warriors, Io and Rhea feud, or Bailey split personality? Chris said it once, said it twice, mate. That's like asking, do you want to get shot or stabbed? I can't give you an answer there, mate. I genuinely can't. The both of this split personality, God bless Pam, like, we're all fans, but Jesus Christ, ever since she lost that title at WrestleMania to fucking Io, she's been on a downwards, like, JP. I mean, she had a bit of a spark with the Lyra stuff and Becky, but this split personality, that's bad, JP. That's really bad stuff. Like,
it's not good in the slightest, and it doesn't make me want to watch Raw anytime soon in there as well. But yeah, so that's Crown Jewel. I think we've talked about
the Fed is back though, JP. Well. I'm ending on that. The Fed is back for me anyway, personally. I'm all for it. Yeah.
The Fed is exactly the same. What I would say is this is the most fun that I've had watching a Fed show. That is damning with faint praise, because of give or take, and I've hated everything they've done this year. Perhaps bar the Evolution show. So we will agree to disagree in a polite, respectful way.
As always, but that's what, as I say, I've said it for a while. That's the beauty of the business. That's why we're here. That's why we do these shows.
Well, that then leads us on very nicely to yet another WWE promotion, TNA, because they promoted what is very much the working class man's WrestleMania, Bound for Glory, or as I like to christen it, Timu Mania, where it's just it's WrestleMania, but it's not quite WrestleMania, and it's done on the cheap. But hey, they'll give you a good refund as well. Apparently, in front of what was meant to be their largest ever crowds in North America. Bullshit. Because I can't be believing that in the slides. It was 7,700. It was like it just didn't feel like that to me. It was a big crowd, and I think
it did look well as well. To be fair to them, it did look good on TV. I thought
we've been following TNA for the longest period of time, us two, and we've seen it. And we've seen the proper lows where it shows in front of 50 people, and it's just dark, and you can see the front row of fans, but nothing beyond it. So, and and even me and Benno, when we were talking about this, we had to admit, it's like, well, do you know what they managed to do? They managed to kind of get like bigger crowds out of this NXT deal.
Yeah.
But while it was how you would imagine a TNA show to be, and this is probably just be my overall thoughts when it comes to this, it delivered on like a bit of retro, some decent stuff that never really reached great. There was one match in particular that it thought it could reach that level, and then they kind of ruined it because it's TNA and it's going to TNA all the time. There was some stuff in there that was completely bad matches, and there was plenty of what could be charitably described as ropey booking at certain stages during this as well. And all while feeling that while WWE probably felt, look, we've given you your world title back. What more do you want? There was that kind of vibe to it. That it's like, well, you still realize who is the big team in this relationship here. I mean, from what you saw of it, what were your overall thoughts?
Well, JP, because I've been in an absolute cracking mood since Saturday afternoon, 4 p.m. time, I'm staying positive. I am. I mean, I get I've been listening to you guys, obviously, and I get everything you're saying, but ultimately, at their biggest show, which, as you say, you can say what you want, but it is their biggest show.
Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that Santana obviously is the right guy, isn't he, JP? We're going to start there as a positive. Yeah. He's the right guy to be getting the title back for the promotion that the belt's meant to be in. He is the right guy overall to lead the company. He's great, isn't he? He's just got that natural charisma, that natural likability. You're rooting for him, his real life stuff. He's just great. He's great character. Looks great on the mic. Even Conan coming out, lovely little touch there into the LAX and stuff like that with him. Loved it, yeah. I love that aspect that he but as you say, and you got on the notes here, hopefully going forward, they can obviously continue with Mike Santana. But overall, mate, I'd say, first of all, I think he's the right guy, isn't he? He is.
Oh, he is. He absolutely is. He's the one who is he's the one who feels like, because it's a, I mean, Benno will say this a lot more, and I said this a lot more than I have, but it's absolutely true. He is a guy who absolutely bet on himself to be a singles guy.
100%.
And he looks the part as a singles guy. It's a very Jey Uso style entrance that he has in terms of coming through the crowd and things like that. But that's absolutely fine for this. And it was the right result. What was weird, though, was I still would say it was the right champion, but the timing wasn't right. This should have happened at Slammiversary when they were in New York, and it was a much bigger hometown vibe. You're doing it, first of all, you're doing it outside of it's Philadelphia, isn't it, for the Songa Center? So you're not doing, Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, UMass. That's where it is. Lowell, Massachusetts. You're doing it there, which is a city that hates New York. So immediately there's a bit of an issue that you're going to find. But then at the same time, a lot of the crowd appear to have left simply because they were there for the one last table match, which we'll get into in a minute. And I don't like Trick Williams while there's a personality and you deliver what you want from like NXT. Again, and Chris has just said it here better than I could in the chat. What has he done with this TNA belt. It doesn't feel like he's had
I
it for a
remember
long time, but it's not really been substantial.
you said
He's
it,
just,
JP. You said it after that triple threat match. You said this is what they're gonna do. They're literally gonna keep it on trick, and Santana's gonna win at Bound for Glory, so they can say, right, he won it in a singles match. You remember you saying that on a show back then, and yeah, I get it. Yeah.
And they delivered it, but it should have been done then. There wasn't anything that Trick did with the belt in these few months that kind of warranted him holding it for a long period of time. And they could have even taken this could have been a defense for Mike Santana against Trick Williams. And Trick Williams loses it in the 3-way because it was Joe Hendry, so he could have gotten pinned, who was completely absent from the show. I think there's an injury that he's dealing in there as well. What was notable is how an obvious layup this would have been. Have him win, get the title back. He's the TNA champion. You've got his daughter in the crowd. But then they hinted at what was happening earlier on, where the Call Your Shot gauntlet match had 2 winners in Nick Nemeth and Frankie Kazarian.
Jesus,
and they both made separate appearances, but because Frankie Kazarian was in the ring, but he didn't have the trophy, he couldn't cash the shot because Nick Nemeth had the trophy and they were fighting over this trophy and who was going to hold it. Yep. But they both got title shots. They're both like, there's 2 winners of it, which is the most unsatisfying way to end the battle royal, but we'll hopefully talk about that very briefly in a bit. So they even just took some steam out of Mike Santana winning because this happened afterwards. And then they did the stuff with the daughter, by which point most people seem to have just fucked off. So he's doing it in front of like what looked like a rapidly emptying arena. So it didn't have any of the impact it should have done, even if the stuff with his daughter was nice.
Yeah.
And it was like a good thing to do. And it was like a very obvious thing to do. I looked at this and I just thought, without you've managed to get the right decision of who should be winning this and who should be going over, but you've tried to fucking like balls that up just through trying to overthink this stuff. And I just found that like almost like fucking kind of unforgivable in a weird set of ways. And the match itself, yeah, it was fine.
There was no need
anything more than that.
There's no need for Kaz and Nick Nemeth in any sense of the word. JP, there's no need for them at all.
But stuff you can do an impact.
Yeah, of course. No, the daughter stuff though, JP, that. I mean, I seen Santana's tweet. Like, she basically saved his life. JP, legit, like saved his life, and that's where it's all the emotion and God bless him, and that's why I love him. Like stuff like that, he's overcome every odd stacked in front of him. Like, so I love that. But you're right, like Nemeth and Kaz, JP, fucking hell, these are. I mean, why? Like Nemeth, Nemeth to a degree, I can go okay. He's still got, for me, all right, he's done, but he's still got a little bit of something. Kaz, though, fucking hell, like, Jesus Christ.
Nah.
I've never liked him, JP. He's Mr. 3-star. And I'm being, that's cruel on 3 stars. Like, fuck me. What? Kaz? Say it out loud, JP, 5 times. Kaz.
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
When TNA tried to push him after he came back from WWE when he was there for like a few months, it was like, no, this isn't the bloke. I wasn't happy when he was X Division champion. So let alone this stuff. I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why is this a thing with him? I cannot understand it for love nor money for this. But yeah, and that kind of sums it up. There are things on this where they made an obvious kind of like balls up. I mean, I suppose before we go to the one last table, did you saw the X Division title match between John Evans and Leon Slater?
And you know what? I think it's the easy. Is it right? You know, maybe slightly leaning towards right, easy thing to say about the finish. Of course, it's tough, isn't it? I mean, because it was. I know. I'm not sticking up for it. I'm trying to gather before seeing JP.
It was shit.
The draw would have been
5-minute injury post time and go, we've got to end this at some point.
Why didn't the lads come out in the 20 minutes? You could say, couldn't you, to interrupt? How did they know it was going to go to a draw, etc.? You can say all that, which is right. Yeah, maybe you've talked me into it, JP, there, but the match itself, though, JP, was when I first put it on, I was thinking, I've heard all this match of the year talk, but then I thought, no, they're building up, and that's what it was refreshing to see, that they started off slowly, mirror images. Then Leon got a bit frustrated, and then it built up, which a match should do. It weren't just bing, bing, bing from the start, bang, bang, bang from the start. Then it escalated, didn't it? Into your big spots, into your fucking, or your kicks, or your fancy spots. Brilliant, JP. It really, really built up well.
Oh.
And then you got the time limit fucking draw out of it. And then Santino, like I even like that stuff like that's fine with me. You get Santino coming out getting the big pop. They're ready to boo him because he said the way he worded it was like, we set times on pay-per-views and you boom, then he goes but and then gets the big pop. So yeah, it was terrible because you get them back into it and then you give them that. Yeah, you're right. Everyone's right. I was wrong there at the start, like everyone. So yeah, it was just well, think about it, and then they were getting the heat, and they're gonna go away. And you know me, I miss the heat, JP. I love a bit of heat, but they think they were getting great heat. They were really fucking angry, weren't they? The fans were really fucking angry, livid, and you don't want to be doing that, do you? Yeah. So
because this was something you just, if there's ever like you talk about like matching two wrestlers together. They do feel like you say the mirror images at the start.
Perfect,
they
JP.
feel like mirror images of each other. And the job they've done with Leon Slater in terms of making him really mean something. I find it hard to believe that when his contract's up, he's not going to NXT. And in many ways, because it feels like there's a natural home for him, there's probably a home in him teaming with Javon Evans. And that's where I think ultimately we're going to just see him and Javon Evans teaming against Dark State, because that was the finish for those people who didn't know. Dark State came out like out of nowhere, and it became a no contest. And it was 2 minutes into the 5 minutes of injury. Someone was like, well, why the fuck is this happening?
You know what it reminds me of?
Just a lead to a tag team match on NXT.
On a lower degree, JP, you know what it reminded me of as well, even though they kind of have been putting people over, etc., back and forth. It reminded me of like when we were on that Flair show about like promoters working together. And it's like, we don't want to make one of these lose yet. We want them to both like look strong still at the end type of thing. So that's what vibes I got from that as well. It's like, it's your biggest show though, lads, at the year. Someone can take a pin here. It's not like a random episode of Impact. You can do it at Bound for Glory, if anywhere, like. So, yeah, I was wrong at the start there, everyone, just to reiterate there. I was trying to stay positive and thinking, but then the more I thought about it, yeah, it was really bad.
Because these two lads look like they're made out of elastic. And they do moves that seem like very simple kind of moves, but they make them look more spectacular. Just because they're so agile, the way that Javon Evans leaps
JP,
over
I'm
the
saying, mate,
hang time he gets is kind of incredible.
JP, I've said it on my Mania video audio done, and when I got back on here with you, I have never, honest to God, when I seen him live, I've never seen anyone move like him. Genuinely, just a unique way of literally bouncing, as he says, and just jumping and running around. I don't know how it's off everything though, JP. I'm watching thinking, how are you able to maneuver your body like that? It's remarkable.
And it was best summed up. There's a sequence where they were just coming in off the ropes, hitting like kind of counters to each other's like kind of moves and stuff, where there was like a neck breaker when Javon Evans was going to springboard off
the OG cutter, is it? Yeah.
Into the OG cut. And that was incredible there. And it was the same thing with the Pele kick as well. There was a cutter to the outside that looked pretty gnarly because Evans hits like his back right on the edge of the ring apron as well. And then there was a splash on Leon Slater. And I say, this is what I say about making simple moves look spectacular. And Leon Slater was getting up and he hits him with it.
How good did it look, JP?
It looked incredible.
Yeah.
And the problem is all of that gets forgotten because of this ropey fucking booking at the end of it, where they end up thinking about it. And I guarantee you, you're just going to see a tag match, not on Impact. You're going to see a tag match on NXT, and it'll be their way of integrating, Leon Slater into the company. And that burp is more a protest to TNA booking as much as anything else.
If, JP, I'm trying to stay positive, and it's not their thinking behind it, don't get me wrong. You want to see them have that decisive finish then, don't you? You want to see that, and you could drag, let's see how long the partnership lasts. I'm guessing it's for a while. You could see that being a main event of like the NXT or Mania weekend, even JP. I know we're a couple of months too late now, JP. We need to start thinking of that Mania road now, because usually if we're starting in August, that's how bad the Fed's been. But you could see that you could see that on that Mania weekend, couldn't you? Like in Vegas and doing that decisive match there. So yeah, you do want to see them. Hopefully, as you say, the career rivals, you want to see them go at it and just keep innovating and keep evolving over the years, because they're both 21. JP, the youngest ever.
Stupidly.
It's scary. Leon Slater's been wrestling since he was 9. Hannafin was saying on commentary there, and been lucky to see both of them live. Obviously, seen Leon a few times over here, but as I say, can't undersell how like gobsmacked I was when I seen Javon Evans live. Like, Jesus, honestly, it's brilliant.
Well, to give you a case in point, their combined ages, they 3 years younger than Nick Nemeth, and 6 years younger than Frankie Kazarian. Yeah, that's what it's ridiculous, isn't it? But, I mean, I suppose the next one to go to, and I've got the image behind me for this one here, was the one last table match. And if stories to be believed, this is the one that appeared to get people into the building. It was the swan song for Team 3D, the greatest tag team of all time, that some people, not us, have called them. I don't know why they'd call them that. Like, unless you just
most decorated, JP. We like most belts. Decorated. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Of which the ring announcements at the beginning went through the list of championships that these teams have there as well. And I mean, for this one, it was obviously very noticeable that Team 3D, both of them, Devon could barely move. He was ridiculously limited there as well. And they got a lot at the beginning. And they managed to put, who did they put through the table? Was it Jeff?
Matt? They 3D Matt on the bell, didn't he? And then they put Jeff through the table for the 3D.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then you get Devon going through the table off the very high ladder, which was set up at the very beginning in the entranceway. And what was notable for that is Jeff completely undershot it, and it looked like he banged his head on the last step on the ladder, which he probably was helped that he was being cushioned by the fall, and it wasn't the earlier steps, because otherwise he'd have been out cold. Yeah, if that was the case there as well. And then we had, I mean, I don't know what you made of it as well. The "I'm sorry, I love you" ECW style of Bully Ray just allowing himself to go through a table while looking very sad. Yeah, putting a big old sad face on there as well. And then you had the whole big post-match afterwards as well, where there was lots of hugs and tears and having the boots handed over to them as well, which I found myself just looking at what socks they were wearing, and they didn't look like the most expensive socks as well. Like the ones I got in Turkey, they're already starting to rip. But I digress. What did you make of it?
I think I've got a bit more sympathy than you, JP. On the match itself, I would say a lot of our chat is saying it, like, obviously, if we're doing combined ages, the four of them here, we must be hitting nearly 200 over. In that sense, you're not going to get a barn burner, are you? Like, I get why the match has been booked, and it wasn't great, no, but the Swanton has still got a kick out of JP. I'm still doing it at this stage of the game, paying homage obviously to the matches they've had through the career, and the match wasn't much, but it's the finish, isn't it? I mean, that's going to divide a lot of people. I like the idea of it. It didn't execute as well as they thought it would. I do like the idea of it, though, JP. I do, especially with a Bully Ray. Personal opinions aside, on his radio showing his thoughts, like, he's that tough wrestler, isn't he? And just seeing him in that scenario, I got a little kick, but it just didn't go the way and get the emotion more off the fans than I think they were going for. So I'll say that I'll just leave it at that with the finish. But the post-match, JP, I had a little, I'm an emotional guy, JP. I love obviously love the business I do, and like, say what you want. Like, it took me back to that 2000 run of the Dudleys, the Hardys, Edge and Christian, where you're youthful and you're enthusiastic and you're loving everything you see, and and all the in-betweens, the ups and fucking downs, and especially Devon again, who's had a stroke in that, JP. It was emotional, and it's a proper, and I'm guessing it's a proper retirement as well, which, I'm getting worked here. It felt like a legit retirement.
Certainly for Devon.
Yeah, exactly, for Devon, and like legitimate, like rightful opponents as well to do that for, that you'd know in real life they'd be happy doing that with. So I did love the aftermath, JP. I did love that, like retired and giving him the boots. I did like that more than the match. If I'm gonna like critique everything, but it did hit me a little bit at the aftermath, like.
So, I mean, I would be of the opinion of, like, I've seen these teams. If I never saw them again, I'd be perfectly happy. That's how I feel, because I've seen it so many times. However, from removing what I think out of this as a commercial decision,
Yeah.
it clearly was a smart play.
The Hardys are still over, Jake. Say what you want,
They
mate, about the 3D. The Hardy boys, and I can attest to that WrestleMania when I went to that WrestleCon. I've never seen all the stars that were there that day. I reiterated, I've never seen a queue like it, JP, circling the fucking all the floors in the building. Like, it was, they're so over still to this day.
This is the thing. I can see them in NXT, certainly doing, like, obviously they've got the belts, but you could see them just being integrated into that system.
Hall of Fame next year as well, JP,
ticks,
for sure.
Yeah, it ticks the boxes of what they want for there. I mean, as a match, it wasn't any good. They are all fucked in there as well. I do want to do the game of, can you guess the combined ages of these teams?
I mean, the Hardys are going to be late 40s. So I'll say 48 and 48, 96. I'll go Bubba's 52. So I'll go, that's what, 148. And then I'll go Devon's 52. I'll go around 200, JP. Around 200 combined.
You are very close. It's 206. So we've got 107 is the combined age of the Dudleys. So yeah, call it fucking quits. And I don't want to see Bubba Ray coming back as any kind of a singles wrestler, because he looks done. He just looks completely done at this point. The Hardys are a relatively sprightly 99 years of age combined in there. Matt is 51 in there. And you could tell which of the two teams has been working more regularly, obviously. And that's the thing. Look, we spoke about it in some ways with John Cena and AJ Styles. This delivered fan service on a much lower level, but it delivered that fan service that the people there wanted to see. Again, what was noticeable is after this match, people are clearly fucking off. They're just like, I'm done. That's the match I wanted to see. I don't care about the main event.
I just need to see one little tidbit, JB, if you can just stall for 1 second, because I need to make sure I'm right with this year, because you're speaking of the Hardy boys who are still going. Oh no, I'll let everyone off. It was 3 years ago where they beat the Young Bucks on AEW pay-per-view, JP. I thought that was like 2023, 2024. It was 2022. That was, Jesus Christ, 3 years ago.
That's it. And this is the thing. We've got these, like, it's the last time we're going to see this, he says. And
the last table, JP.
The last table for this as well. So there was that match. Well, I mean, I suppose from that, what else did you see on the show?
That's pretty much everything I got round to. JP was the big three, and obviously I knew the results of the call your shot goal. Did you catch the? I do want to. Didn't have enough time. I want to see the 8-man war. Was it the 8-person war?
That probably was the best thing on the undercard. Like, from it, and it wasn't like it was spectacular and brilliant and must watch. It was fine for what it was, but they put in there was a bloke who was on the Order 4 team. I think it was a Special Agent Zero. I think he's just a big tall bloke who looks like, again, Timu Big Bill. Basically, that's what he looks like, just slightly smaller, very jacked, and he delivered like a sort of a choke slam to Alicia Edwards onto some thumbtacks.
I'll have to watch it. I will get round to that match later.
Mustafa Ali then tries to go for a shooting star press, which he misses and goes into the tacks, and then the Boston knee party from Eddie Edwards win. That was perfectly fine, because it was just like your balls to the wall hardcore match, and so it was like an easy enough thing to put onto the card. The women's match was fucking terrible. Kalani Jordan and Indy Hartwell. Kalani Jordan retained, which was made even worse because Indy Hartwell's family apparently were all there, and they'd come out from Melbourne to watch this show. Like, Jesus. What the fuck? Like, and it clearly, and that felt like a directive, because does Kalani Jordan need the Knockouts title? No.
No.
But that's what they did here. Indy Hartwell is, I mean, she just sort of just looks lost at times out there. I thought that was kind of like a dreadful match there, but it was like kind of inexplicable how she didn't win there. They did also have the Tessa Blanchard versus Gia Miller match in there, which again was shit, and it was Tessa Blanchard hitting a roll of coins, which then burst and went all over the floor. Referee just counts the pin as standard, just ignoring all these coins around there as well, which is like, why the fuck did you do it? Steve Macklin beat Frankie Kazarian for the international title, and all I thought was, and it was more notable for Steve Macklin's mum in the front row delivering a double Steve style middle fingers to Frankie Kazarian saying "fuck you" there as well, as he won the international title. Again, pretty nondescript, and Macklin deserves better.
He does. We've said it for years, JP.
Said it for years. We were the first. We were very early doors on it. Like, this bloke actually has something. I don't understand why they just go with him as a, like, even if he's a contender of the month for Mike Santana, that's perfectly fine. That for me would suggest like, that'd be an interesting enough main event to have with Mike Santana on like a Impact Plus show in there. The Corleo Shot Gauntlet match was fine as a battle royal goes, and it had some influencer called BDE who was there, who had his like.
I don't know.
I had no idea who this bloke is. In fairness to him, he's become like a proper worker. He was all right. He's very skinny, but he was fine. He had his mates in the front row who were all influencers there as well. And this was all right up until the bullshit finish, which again, Santino comes out and says, we've got two winners of this. And if you can think of a more like, imagine if Vince had said that after Batista and John Cena went over the top rope.
Yeah.
We've got two winners. Like, I mean, they kind of did it, didn't they, with Brett and Luger? And it wasn't exactly like a crowning point in WWF booking history, but it was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, honestly, they just sort of ruined it by doing that. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, like, this is the thing with it as well. That, like, I can't help but feel a show like this, which obviously with this crowd, and I can understand why, if they papered it, why they did paper it, because they're trying to sell a TV deal in between all of the news about ratings not being what they are for wrestling and not being as strong as what they are. They're trying to get a TV deal. You want to put your best foot forward for this. And in some ways, just easy, simple booking and crowd service is the way to go. And they didn't really do it. They did it, I suppose, with the one last table match would be the best example of where they did. Outside of it, they overthink it, they over fucking complicate it, and they go full bore TNA because they just can't help themselves. And TNA is going to TNA, mate.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit in that positive mood, JP. I'll say, agree with what you're saying. Of course, I did think like it looked good. Like I said before, the house on telly, whether it was, you know, as you say, papered or lied or not, I think it looked well on telly. I think the right world champion in the end is what we need. As you say, we had the last Hardy stuff. I did like the emotional side at the end. I got out of that. You know, you had Leon and Javon. All right, terrible finish aside. You had them showcasing what they can do in front of that like big of a crowd as well. So there was positive to take, but then you do read that undercard out to be JP, and it doesn't fill me with anything like more positive to say. So probably more of a negative, you know, or right in the middle kind of pay-per-view, isn't it? But, you know, with some positives that they can use going forward. Let's see if the houses keep on drawing. Let's see how Santana gets on as champion. You've got your Hardy, see how the relationship with NXT keeps going. So there's, you know, some lights to cling on to, JP, I would say.
Yeah,
it's TNA. We say TNA, JP, but they're always there, aren't they? They're always somehow surviving.
That's it.
And always there. So, you know, let's see.
Like the cockroach, mate. They're never going anywhere there as well. But going to go on to another show now. I know you definitely haven't watched this. I mean, in some ways, it wouldn't blame me if you decided I could have a quick cheeky kip now for the next 10 minutes. But I'll be interested to know what your thoughts are generally on it. It was a big weekend for New Japan. And they had their King of Pro Wrestling show from Sumo Hall. It was the second show in 3 days in Sumo Hall. Noah had a show. I'll talk about that very briefly at the end of the show. This was notable. Did you see any of this, by the way? Any of it at all?
I've only seen the obviously the title change, JP, and the finish of that, and some of the stuff, with the New Japan here.
And that really is, in some ways, the big talking point, because this is all roads lead to Wrestle Kingdom, and this is the last of the really big shows. There's another Tanahashi homecoming show that they've announced a couple of matches for that's happening in November. But here, like say, headlined by Zack Sabre Jr. defending his IWGP World Heavyweight title against Konosuke Takeshita. And I have to say, I thought this was fucking class. I don't know what are your thoughts on it, Matty?
Yeah, no, it's the right guy, JP, for me. I mean, you know, obviously not keeping up with AEW as much as I should be / want to be, but he's just a guy that should be there, JP. He should be focused. And I seen a bit of a snippet from his interview as well, saying he's got the free contracts, hasn't he, JP, and he can kind of bounce around where he wants to go, etc. And fair play to him, mate, because he should be the focus of whatever company he's in. I mean, he's the typical just look at him, just see his work, and why wouldn't you build a company around him and give him your world championship? It's an absolute no-brainer, this one, like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would agree. I mean, it was something that was very heavily predicted. I mean, I thought this was like a really, really good main event. I'd probably go for like 4.25 for this. I mean, it had like, it was sort of like very big, very well built in terms of like started off very quickly, but it was a very simple story. Zack's targeting the arm, but then when he tries to sort of go strike for strike with Takeshita, he loses because Takeshita's the bigger man. And like, what was notable about this as well, in that he loses a tooth during this match, so he's bleeding from the mouth at various bits. I thought some of the strike exchanges were really good. I thought there was some really good selling, and it felt like it was constant motion. It was like when Zack is at his best, where there's just like a constant sense of movement, whether it's on the mat when he's working moves and then he's maneuvering into another move before it can be countered. That kind of stuff, you can really sort of sink your teeth into it as well. And yeah, like, just I thought this was like, I thought it is the right move, because I don't think beggars can be choosers with New Japan. Like here, like, it's like, who are you going to go to the Dome with as your champion? Given that in many ways they've, it's the fastest selling Wrestle Kingdom so far. It's on pace to be the biggest Wrestle Kingdom attendance. I mean, it's on pace to be a sellout. I wouldn't be believing that. But whether it's Tanahashi, his retirement,
that's got to be a big part of it, JP.
That is really the big part of it.
Yeah.
Combined with Aaron Wolf, who won the gold medal for Japan as a judoka, and he's going to be making his debut against Evil, who is the never openweight champion. Which, just very briefly on that, because it's not a match you need to go out of your way to see. The idea being that Evil will come in with all the bells and whistles, bullshit interference to kind of mask over the nonsense and mask over any deficiencies that Aaron Wolf has, because he'll just be doing judo throws and stuff like that, and then he'll have a load of bollocks and he'll end up tapping Evil out and winning the title. That's what I could see happening. And do you know what? Okay, fine. That might work for the audience on that night and get themselves on talk shows, and they're really going kind of all in on this stuff here, because he got involved at the end of the match when they were beating up all the young lions, and he was the last one to come in, and he starts throwing some of the lads down. But there is this feeling, this like negative feeling around Takeshita amongst some New Japan fans here, because there were some boos afterwards. I didn't think there was a lot in terms of, it wasn't wholesale booing. It didn't remind me of when, like, say, Naito won the G1 and the crowd had rejected him in, like, sort of, 2014. Like, it wasn't anything kind of like that. Instead, like, going to him, I kind of view him, and I know Chris Samsa wrote an article about this on Voices of Wrestling as well, sort of like New Japan statistician, and he wrote about them being basically, he's a bridge. He's a bridge to your next guy. And that's the way to kind of use him. But he's a fresh face in there as well. Like, the thing that can't be forgotten, and I think there's a problem sometimes where it's just like, it's wanting to blame the big bad AEW for all of the faults of New Japan, whilst forgetting that New Japan have got themselves into this mess. They've got themselves into this mess because they couldn't shit or get off the pot. Basically, they couldn't commit to going, this is a guy we're going to go with. It was like, oh, maybe it won't work. And it's like, well, how will you know if you never fucking try? And when they did do something, they chose completely the wrong bloke. Everyone could have told you that Shota Umino, and you've seen him live, was not the fucking guy. Instead, what he now is, he's a tag wrestler. And do you know what? That's the fucking role for him for the short term, for the next couple of years. I wouldn't be moving him out of a fucking tag team at all. And instead, they've kind of gone with a guy who, and this is the notable thing for this, can deliver on a main event New Japan show and deliver in ring. And I think that's something that's important and it's kind of forgotten about as well. And it doesn't mean going back to kind of broken down guys and bemoaning about this, but this is a situation that they've created. And instead, you want to go with someone who at least is going to be able to deliver in ring, at least is somewhat fresh. He's probably better off as a heel, if we're going to be honest about it, rather than this kind of like face role that he has in New Japan, and to a certain extent, more of a tweener role.
Well, what's the Dome match, JP? Has he got to wrestle Goto? Is that the next? No, is that not that?
Goto came out, but that's happening at Tanahashi's homecoming.
Okay.
The idea of Goto saying, "I don't want you taking the belt to the Dome, so we're going to have a match there."
Yeah,
perfectly fine. I think it's like a decent main event to have on the way there.
Yeah,
but the thought would be, you either go with an Okada, you do that.
Isn't that going to happen in AEW? The teasing, the tag stuff. I think that's where they're going to. I don't know the relationship.
That's it.
They're going to bleed on both sides there, aren't they? Like if you're getting Okada back at the Dome, I don't know if that's a possibility. But the bleeding on telly that they're going to fall out, and Okada being that big baby face, going back to Japan to win the title, that seems strange, though, JP, doesn't it?
I don't think he'd be the big baby face. I think he'd be coming there as a heel who left the company, who's going to take the title to the States, in terms of hoping that Takeshita becomes the bigger baby face, because at least he'll be around, even if there is, and I would say not in a massive industrial way, like a slight sort of hesitancy from long-term New Japan fans where he doesn't do all the Road 2 tours. It's like, no, and nor should he. That shouldn't be I don't think that should be the deciding factor, but that's just my personal thought on it. So the thought would be, you either have Takeshita versus Okada, or you have Okada as Tanahashi's last opponent, which kind of works. That's absolutely fine if you're going to do that. And then you put maybe Yota Tsuji into that slot and go, or Yuya Uemura, or you just go with a younger guy if he's going to be the one to challenge at the Dome, and go with that. Because knowing full well that this is the year you can get away with it, because of the Tanahashi match, that's going to be the big focus. And in many ways, what you need to think about is just if you are putting a younger guy in there, that younger guy is going to be made to feel like a big deal, because they're wrestling against someone who is, and I know you're a massive fan of, like in ring, like one of the best workers in the world.
One of the best, if not the best for me, like in the world, like genuinely, like that's not. Like he is, every time I see him, he's incredible, JP. Like he makes me want to watch this Zack Sabre match, and I'm nowhere near a fan of him. Like genuinely, I want to see how he meshes with Zack and brings hopefully something different out of Zack as well. Like I think he's a phenomenon, JP. He is. He's one of them wrestlers that's like just everything about him. It's like Jesus Christ. He's great. He really is.
He is, and so that's the sort of situation around like the main around the world title scene. There was a really good global heavyweight title match, I have to say, between Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji. And I think it was notable because Gabe Kidd felt like he was, particularly the way he was doing leapfrogs and drop downs, that he felt like the hamstring issues, the leg issues that had taken him out of the G1, that he's over those. Now, he lost the global title to Yota Tsuji because, let's face it, in January, when his contract's up, he's going to be in AEW. There's already a ready-made spot for him in a kind of revamped version of the Death Riders.
Death Riders, yeah.
And that's going to be the situation. That's the reality of it as well. Particularly when a lot of like wrestlers in New Japan, a lot of foreign workers aren't being brought over on the reg because, because of trying to cut some costs, but also at the same time, he's going to be earning a hell of a lot of money, and it's a fucking business at the end of the day, and that's the way these fellas are going to be looking at it. But I thought, again, simple enough story. Two guys who grew up in the dojo together, and they're having a blow-off match after having multiple matches between them, which have kind of gone pretty much, hot potatoing the title between them as well. Absolutely fine in there. Tsuji should be the guy that they go with. He's the most common sense option. Don't fucking overthink it. Just go with him. He's got more presence than any of the other younger homegrown guys that they could go with in there as well. I thought it was great fun. They were both kicking out of each other's finishes. Tsuji won with a Boston Crab, which really was sort of becoming a very Walls of Jericho, the way he was so high up. But that ties it back to Young Lions, who would only ever win with a Boston Crab in there as well. It was very weird, the post-match, because you had the Bullet Club War Dogs. Yeah, that's a thing. Led by David Finlay coming out, while the former LIJ, but they're not LIJ anymore because there's no Naito and Bushi, so they're just unaffiliated. And they all shook hands in the ring. And you're like, right, I'm not quite sure where this is going. And I'd say like a good solid 4 stars for this match as well. I thought that was a really good match in there. There is another act I do want you to watch though, and it's the tag team who are over here for a little bit. And it was the Knockout Brothers of Yuto, Ice, and Oscar. I don't know if you heard me and Benno chat about them. They just feel like a massive breath of fresh air. And they had a match with Shota Umino and Yu Yamura. And this felt to me like this is the kind of New Japan I want. Not because the match was the best in the world ever. It wasn't. But what there was fucking passion. There was passion and there was heart in this. And it felt like 4 young lads having a tag match against each other. They'd had singles on the road 2 matches that were very well received. They'll have a rematch at the Dome because I would expect Shota Umino and Yu Yamura to win it and then win the titles at the Dome. And you can have like an extended feud between them as well. But there's a guy in it called Yuto Ice who kind of acts like a somewhat like Japanese hip hop gangster, basically, with gold teeth and making wacky hand signals and stuff like that. But it really fucking picked up here towards the end because it had Yamura having Yuto Ice in an arm lock, and you thought he was going to tap so many times, and the crowd are like kind of baying for him not to tap because he's got so much charisma about him, and Oscar is like a big 6'7" German guy there as well. So they were out in WXW for a bit, some dates in Rev Pro, but like he would dive in and just make the save right at the last minute there as well. It was the best use of Shota Umino I'd seen, just being put into a tag team for a bit. And it felt like, yeah, I could get into this tag division if it's these two and then a couple of the older tag teams, whether it's Ishii and Taichi or Bishamon kind of working around them. I'd be fine with that for a period of time because I've never done anything with the tag belts. Fuck it. You've got a chance to do it, but with some young lads there. Just at Yuto Ice, it's just kind of this, he doesn't look like much, but he's just a force of nature. It's a little stocky bloke with some gold teeth and some dyed white hair. And it just seems to kind of work. And the thing is that they've got so many young lads. I'm sorry, I'm going on a right proper extended rant here. Apologies, Matty.
It's all good.
Who all kind of feel the same. Well, they all feel the same. And Yuto Ice feels like an individual where everyone else kind of looks and feels the same origin stories. This bloke feels different. Now, has he got a main event body? No. Like, I'm not even like his promos though, and his character are the thing that kind of shine through, and it makes me want to watch him. And is he the finished article? Absolutely not. They're not by a while, and sometimes they look even kind of vaguely shit. But there's something about them. They've got presence, and you'll know this as well. Like that goes a fuck of a long way. Like presence.
But you know what, JP? It's like, I'm all for these rants, JP, because it's a positive, passionate one, and it's good to hear that, like for New Japan, because like obviously for the longest time, all you've heard and clips online and people online, it was a dead promotion. It was ice cold. It was the finishes are terrible, the interferences, and you have your bright sparks in there, of course, with any promotion. But overall, it just seemed like dead beat. But then you mention the fact, like you know, I've seen Takeshita is the champion. That's a big, massive tick for me straight away without even being into the product. You're mentioning, the Wrestle Kingdom attendance is going the right direction. Tick. That show's going to be even more special, obviously, with Tanahashi's last appearance. So there's a bit of momentum, JP, and a bit of passion and a bit of good things to get reported about here. So, and it's good to hear. It is.
The wrestling ecosystem needs it. I mean, that's ultimately it, is it? Like a rising tide lifts all ships, and they need just something to be like a positive, and they need a Wrestle Kingdom to be positive, because the last one, it was the AEW show the day afterwards, the one that had Gabe Kidd versus Kenny Omega. That was the one
Yeah.
people spoke about. Didn't
Yeah.
fucking speak about the dome. It was just like, it was a dome. It felt like a contractual obligation to sit through it and then have to review it for the pod.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're like, oh, I couldn't give a shit on here. But yeah, they're the kind of main highlights. I would also give a shout out to the opener, which was the IWGP Women's title, which was Sarai, the champion. She lost her title to Shuri. It's very easy to get those two confused there, who'd gone over very briefly. She was in Ring of Honor and made a couple of appearances there. I think she also made an appearance at one of the gauntlet matches for AEW. She wasn't.
JP, that's not narrowing it down, mate.
No, not at all. But it was really good. It was like nearly 15 minutes. They worked at a proper full-on pace. They were both kind of properly laying it in as well, with some like sort of full-on headbutts at points in there. Sarai was in WWE for a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And people have been raving about her since she's gone back to Japan, and she's like an entirely different character. I think in some ways they had her dressed up as like a Japanese schoolgirl.
In WWE definitely did.
WWE did.
Yeah.
But here she feels like I could see what people were getting on about. So they had that title match, and it's notable as well. I mean, I'm saving a lot of the news story stuff for when I'm doing the weekend show with Gareth.
Of course, yeah.
But Saya Kamatani is going to be on the Dome show, who is the Stardom champion, who's had like a proper banner year, and it's been a good year for Stardom, particularly in terms of business and attendances as well. So it felt like, oh, okay, will we get a couple of matches there? Will it be title for title? But if they're delivering something like this, it absolutely worked. And they're the things you need to see from this card, as opposed to Driller Maloney beating Sonada in a standard
it's a big win, that JP for Driller.
I know.
It's a big win.
They like him. It's like in some ways this is what happens because they haven't got that many guys to pick from. In some ways, it's like you're better off going there. You're not going to get the big money at this stage, but you're certainly going to get some semblance of a push. And he looks the part, and he works on his body. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's pretty much everything I've got to say about this as well. Like I say, there's some news notes, but I'm going to save them for when we do the weekend show with Gareth in there as well. So one of the things I did want to ask you about before, as we're starting to wrap up, because I won't lie to you, I didn't watch Collision.
Did anyone, JP?
Well, not according to a Big Data Plus panel.
Yeah,
probably not. Certainly no one under the ages of 18 to 49 didn't.
Can I just say, while Benno's not here, JP, this isn't against you. I have noticed how the demo talk's kind of been died down now. Obviously, you know, people control the narrative, JP, and not EC3 I'm on about there. I will spare the debate about this type of stuff. There's things about the numbers that are interesting in terms of when they convert them into like pay-per-view buys. That's the weirdest thing. But I also think afternoon shows and international audiences finally being able to watch pay-per-views at a reasonable time for them is going to lead to an uptick in buys. And crazy thought, there are more people in the rest of the world than just America by itself. America, US, and Canada. Crazy thought. Yeah.
And if you get them to buy lots, that makes up for the people who won't buy in the States, who somehow refuse to watch any wrestling in the afternoon in there as well. So, yeah, but there is Wrestle Kingdom coming up this weekend. We'll be talking about it.
JP. You're still new on your new
Freudian slip. Wow, Freudian slip, mate. I tell you, that's the big one. We've got WrestleDream instead, which was set up as originally being like kind of an Antonio Inoki style bloody deal.
It was,
wasn't it? It was like that was very weird.
Yeah,
absolutely like odd in there as well. So we've got the WrestleDream card on here. I'm just going to go through it. Just a very quick thoughts. What you think about this in the build?
Go from bottom to top though, JP, because I've got strong thoughts on this fucking main event. Jesus.
So we have so far of what's been announced: the Hurt Syndicate, Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP versus the Demand, Ricochet, and the Gates of Agony in a trios match.
That's fine. That's continuing the feud, isn't it? That's continuing what they've been building, and we were at Forbidden Door where Ricochet and the lads cost than the tag title. So that's fine. That's just a typical trios match in AEW. Fair play.
Can the demand go over here, please? That would be.
Is that what? Yeah. Well, it's the fact of do the lads do jobs though, JP? Will MVP take the pin? Is he going to take the pin for here? Because he's the only one who's putting his shoulders to the mat.
That's the only thing. Yeah,
because Bob isn't, is he? Let's be honest.
No, Bob ain't jobbing to anyone.
And I don't blame him, to be fair.
Bob didn't job in MMA.
Yeah.
So, like, he weren't fucking jobbing in fucking pro wrestling, is he? But yeah, I just would say the demands have to win it. Anyway, save my thoughts for this. It's about your thoughts. Jamie Hayter versus Tekla.
Yeah, as I say, JP, I've only been keeping up with a few of the storylines on this. So that one, to me, I don't know how it's been built, what it's for, what it's going in. And I know Hayter's had a few wins on Collision, I see, JP. I think she beat Anna Jay, didn't she, last week? So yeah, I'm still checking in some random bits, JP, but don't know the story behind it, if I'm being honest, but I assume Hayter's going over if she's getting rehabbed and pushed and getting wins on Collision. But is it Tekla? Is she protected, JP? Is she like, are they pushing her like a monster type?
Not so much as like because she feels very unique.
Yeah,
it feels like she is, and she's in the Triangle of Madness.
That's what I mean.
You've got a Sky Blue who can take pins, or even a Julia Hart. But at one point in time, felt like she was going to be the next big thing. She was like fucking over at one stage, and that feels like a very long
Jamie Hayter's the one. Jamie, I mean, I'm not, once again, like, and it's not just, obviously, we're not big Patriots, are we? We're not big Del Wilkes here, JP. But like, it's like, but Jamie Hayter was the woman in AEW, wasn't she? And then you kind of get injured. And to be fair to Khan, in a way, he usually doesn't forget you type thing. It feels like since she's come back, she's just done a whole lot of nothing, JP, considering the level she should be at. You know? But that's akin to a few of the women in AEW. Like, I know Statlander, which we'll get into in a minute, has had, a title win, but like, keep hearing everyone saying, and she is. I'm even saying having a go at the masses here for once. Like, Willow Nightingale, like, I'm not all in on her. Like, everyone's got the emotional attachment, but even I can see how likable she is and how fucking good she is and how natural she is. And she's just, she's not nowhere near no championships. No, not I know she's featured with FTR and that at the minute, but she should be doing more for me, JP. But I digress.
So the problem with Jamie Hayter has been injuries. You sum it up. It was being injured, off for a long time, coming back, injured again, off for a period of time, and then coming back. I think there's just a hesitancy around that. And then there is like, where does she fit in? Because in that time, several other people came to the fore. But as an undercard match, like, I'm fine with that. I don't have any kind of an issue with it as well.
Yeah.
It's just that what she needs is just it's just avoiding injury.
Yeah.
It's just like we think about this about certain football players, of just being able to go through a run of games without breaking down. It's how I feel about Martin Odegaard at the moment.
Yes. It's
just like, mate, just get through this rather than like holding your shoulder after like 15 minutes and going, oh, for fuck's sakes, not again. That's how it feels about that. But we then have the Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express for $500,000, $500,000.
You know what?
Think of the other payoffs in these matches now.
I'll be honest, mate. I mean, I love that. I love like the fucking matches for fucking money. There should be more of them. And he was a lot, wasn't he, at the minute? Yeah. I mean, I'd rather you wrestle for money than just having cold ass matches for fuck all. Like, genuinely, I'd rather have it. Fair play for giving it a bit. But this has got the story, and hasn't it, with Jack Perry coming back, and I seen the backstage on Collision with him and Kenny Omega. That fella was shot about 9 years ago, but it plays in that Kenny, you can't trust him, and I like, everyone knows I'm a sucker for that type of stuff, so I'm interested in that. And the match, apart from Luchasaurus aside, should be good enough with the Bucks, and you'll get some sort of story and shenanigans out of it. So I'm fine with this one, JP. More than fine with it, in fact. Wrestling for cash or wrestling for points? I'll have that as well, yeah.
Well, that's it. It should all be about getting to the pay window, really, shouldn't it? That's what the whole fucking games industry is about. I mean, I have to say, it's just the Jurassic Express part. I'm just not sold.
Jurassic Park, really? Come on, JP.
I am, yeah. I still haven't seen that new Jurassic Park film. I started watching it, and I was like 15 minutes in, and I was like, "This is shit."
I can imagine you've seen all 6 of them, have you, at this point?
I have at various fucking points. That third one, I've never seen a film. Within 10 minutes, they're getting eaten by fucking dinosaurs, and I was like, "What the fuck?" It's like 90 minutes long. It's just like, it's just like we've landed. Dinosaurs run! And I'm like, whoa! Who are these people? Why is William H. Macy there?
Let's hope 10 minutes in here that Nick and Matt don't get ate by Luchasaurus,
No.
JP.
That'd be very dark. That reminds me of the Monster, the Ed Gein thing that's on Netflix, which is a massive pile of shit. I'm just going to throw that out there. Fucking bollocks, mate. Honestly, I never have I seen a pro TV series want to go, that serial killer, yeah, he's done some bad things, but you know what? He's all right. You go, not even me as a serial killer aficionado thinking, he's a bit misunderstood. He fucking ain't misunderstood, mate.
JP, I've seen the first
mum
one.
As a fucking suit.
That first scene where it cuts where he's hanging himself in his mother, it's outrageous. Yeah, I've seen the first one.
Oh, it gets better, mate.
Let's get back to the wrestling. JP.
None of that's going on there. There's a bit where they intercut it in with like various films. So you've got like Buffalo Bill dancing to Hugh Lazarus and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck is this? But I digress. Here we go. On to the meat of the show. Darby Allin versus John Moxley in an I Quit match.
Well, this could be this is spooky month, JP. This is tying in with all this type of stuff because, to be fair, this is one that's been built up, hasn't it? You know, Moxley's always going to get protected, and I've seen the angles with the flamethrower, and he tried to set, what did he have, JP? Like the glass full of petrol at the end of last week's show. I mean, I got a kick out of it. I got a kick out that security guard just randomly speeding to save the day, to save the show. Yeah, you know what? I got a kick out of that. The match will be, you know, it'll be bananas, won't it, JP? We're obviously going to get more fire. You can't keep teasing it. You can't have the segments at the pay-per-view and then keep teasing it without something happening in a big spot. So I'm all in on this. It'll be wild. It'll be crazy. It'll have fire. Yeah, this is a good one.
Yeah. For that one and there. So we've got for the TNT Championship, Kyle Fletcher versus Mark Briscoe.
Yeah, well, once again, JP, two like acts that are on that. It's my new phrase, isn't it? The upward trajectory. I'm going to keep it. I might TM that. But like these are two wrestlers that are on that come. So obviously one's going to be taking the pinfall. They're probably going to be Mark, isn't it? Taking the pinfall, getting back to his ways before the MJF feud, really. But yeah, it is. It's, as I say, it's and you're not going to get it. To be fair to Tony Khan, you're not going to get a cop-out shit finish, are you? You're going to get a decisive winner. So I'll go Kyle to go over in this one, JP. But as a match, as I say, as a pay-per-view big match, totally perfect.
Okay, then. We've spoken about two of these fellas in this match in here, but we have Brodido, Brody King and Bandido. I know you're a big Bandido fan.
Oh, big.
Versus the Don Callis family team of Kazuchika Okada and the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, Konosuke Takeshita.
JP, like, apart from Okada, at this point in the game especially, like, and you know, the lads will obviously bring more stuff out of them. This is going to have a bit of everything in it, JP. On paper, it's a big match. You're going to get great action from everyone in there. You're going to get story with obviously Takeshita and Okada. Ticks every box for me. This is one that, like, you might get a face/heel turn at the end of this, or at least carrying it on, JP, until you get that big explosion. But yeah, this, you know, obviously the faces go over retaining the belt as well for me because of them miscommunication or shenanigans. So, but yeah, I'm going to give spoilers away anyway, unless something happens in the next 2 months, JP. Bandido Takeshi is my match of the year on the Grappies. Like, just fucking love that match. Unbelievable.
And
without live bias aside, I know people shit on WrestleMania, but I had a great time with some of the matches, which might come into it. But that, as a TV watching, Jesus Christ, was unbelievable match. That
Bandido is pretty incredible.
Oh, since when I first seen him over here as well, PWG, I have just been all over him. I know he's had his injuries as well, but when he wasn't getting used properly, I was like, why isn't this guy fucking featured even in Ring of Honor? At least he's getting a big feature there and crossed over now with the tag belt in AEW. He's another special one, JP.
He's come a long way since we saw him having a massive slash at Bowlers in Manchester. Chris Statlander versus Tony Storm for the AEW Women's Championship.
Yeah, once again, JP not as invested in this as many people will be, obviously, but you know, Statlander getting that belt in the 4-way, wasn't it? Was a shocking finish. No one really expected it, and this is more of like, you know, yeah, it's a way of obviously getting that win over. I assume she's going to be Tony Stormy and get that singles win, which you can look at it both ways, can't you? Maybe she should have beat her for the title 1-on-1, but I always like that the lottery of a 4-way. If we're being in wrestling terms, there that would happen. You know, I that's one of me going back to the WWE creative. That Seth Rollins 4-way in Paris. Like, you knew he was going to win. A 4-way should be a lottery. They always advertise 3 and 4-ways as lotteries, and they don't really ever go out the way that they advertise it on. So I didn't mind that, in a sense that she would, you know, so she could lose the title in a 4-way. So
that whole there's a 25% winning chance.
All that shit, yeah. So it's right in it. You got to do it now and again. And Statlander is one again, like a homegrown talent, like similar to Willow, that she's always had a big fan section that's always behind her, and on fair play, she's finally getting a chance. So yeah, that's a good match, JP.
Fair shout. And then the main event, the match you're looking most forward to, Hangman Page versus Samoa Joe
now
for the AEW World Championship.
JP, anyone, and I'm sure Benno has, and he's tried and he's enjoyed this, and he's got the Joe affiliation. Nobody on planet Earth, Tony Khan couldn't sit me down and give me any good reason why this match in near 2026 should be headlining any major promotion for a world title. I mean, I'm JP, I'm genuinely baffled. Like, Jesus. I don't know, don't get me wrong. Like, everything else aside, you know, you've got your Ospreay injured, Swerve's out, Kenny Omega's not once what he was. He's getting saved for special matches. But JP, of a roster full of fucking 190 million wrestlers, they come up with Samoa Joe, who's part of a trios act, because that's his role at the minute, which should be his role at the minute. And you're hot-shotting him into this. No, mate, I don't care how. You can be the biggest Samoa Joe fan in the world. You can be the biggest Hangman Page AEW fan. Nobody can justify this to me in nearly 2026, JP. I'm not having it. It's poor. So, it's really bad.
I'm gonna push back on this one. The way they did it with like a 2-week build, and like you say, you are right in the sense this is just something that's born out of a bit of a mini injury crisis at the top of the card.
Yeah, I said that, you know.
And other storylines, like you can't just put John Moxley into the mix because he's got the thing going on with Darby Allin. You've just done Kyle Fletcher, which they did a great job with that as well, with My Misgivings. Okada and Takeshita are doing their thing. So the idea as well, Chris mentions it here, the Hangman hasn't beaten him. As a one-off match on a pay-per-view, and as long as you don't have this overstay its welcome, it doesn't need to go 20 plus minutes. And I don't think you should be asking Samoa Joe to be doing that in 2025 as a kind of throwaway match, as like almost like a one last hurrah. This is Joe's big last chance for the title. I'm perfectly fine with this. And he does. And if you saw the promos that he delivered, like that they delivered in ring to each other as well, it still felt like he had that element of credibility to him that's really important. And it's a stopgap.
This is 20 years ago credibility, though. This is like when he was the monster in an indie federation that wasn't drawing flies to shit, JP. This is bad, mate. Like, honestly, this is where we differ and our fandoms differ, because you can't sell it to me enough, and you try that, I get it. But that's the end game ultimately still, and it's one I can never have, JP. I can't have it, mate. I can't. I just can't have it.
Would you have AJ Styles challenging for the title at some stage next year during his retirement run? Would you have that as a one-off match?
Not for the WWE title, JP. I'd rather him go for I'd rather go for the IC title to get the Grand Slam, because he's done that. You know, I'd rather him go for the
Cena,
IC title.
AJ.
No, yeah, AJ even. He's the same.
As well. Okay.
He's the same for the Grand. I'd rather that, because I'd be saying the same thing. But that's the thing, JP. Even if you get me to agree there, at least he's retiring. Samoa Joe's not retiring. He's in his role in the trios. That you can kind of. I wouldn't be a big fan of it, but as you broke it down there, you go, all right, he's retiring. You can play that into the story. The veteran getting one last shot. This is Samoa Joe getting reated. All right, I don't know whether it might have been a good story, but come on, Jesus Christ, give him a 4-way, give him something. Like, I don't know, people, as I say, but this is where the fandoms differ, and I can accept that. And it's not for me. Honestly, that's on your mark. Here's your main event, and I'm like, nah, that is just. I don't care how well it's been built. That it shouldn't be happening.
I personally, I massively disagree with that one.
That's what we're about, JP. That's what we're about.
I honestly think it could work. I think if you book it carefully, you don't go more than 15 minutes, and you have Hangman win, and he wins clean. And like the chat is saying here as well, that it's probably quite likely that the I Quit match is going to go on last because of just the excessive nature of it. For a show like this, which feels kind of like the last show in terms of All Out, has got very much like that B-level pay-per-view kind of vibe to it. We've got Full Gear next month as well. And you're hoping at that point that there might be some people who are kind of coming back in. Not Ospreay, he's not going to be back for like at least another 6 months as well. I'm all right with this. Like, just it's just been necessitated by what has gone on around them. It's like, well, what do we do with Hangman Page? If you can make this work in the way that the Fletcher match worked, then like you have to kind of look at him and go like, that's
the Fletcher match is fine, JP, because that's an up and coming. You know, I was fine with that, probably more
but
than
not
yourself.
someone as a draw.
Yeah, there you go. But this is all on Hangman Page, isn't it? And to be fair to him, I'm going to stick up for him here. Like, he's got to go in with this as your world champion when there's a non-world title match getting built bigger.
Mm-hmm.
If this was the Fed, JP, I'm not just being that guy. This should be getting shit on. Your world champion, not in your main event. It should be your focus. I hope it goes on last, because if that I Quit match goes on last, you're undermining Adam Page there, aren't you, as well as this? You got there. I get it with him. I don't get it with him, but I get the story and the character. Ended the Death Riders and all that, and then he's getting overshadowed by another feud. That's not right, though, is it? And I know there's injuries, and I know there's this, that, and the other. But as world champion, Joe should be making this the main event more than that. So I'm intrigued there. You're right. If that goes on last, that intrigues me. It does intrigue me. That.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I'll be interested to hear what Gareth's thoughts on.
Fired up tonight, JP. Anyway. You fired me up now. I was positive before.
I'll fire you up now at this point, yeah.
No, but I've given enough praise, because honestly, the tag match, the I Quit match, I'm really looking forward to. Like, genuinely, we're seeking that out when I get up for that. The Young Bucks match, I'll be having a laugh with that. So there's some good stuff on there. You know, give credit where it's due.
Another thing that'd be worthwhile listening to, Darby Allin on Ariel Helwani, particularly talking about those people who wouldn't lose in AEW, and he wasn't including CM Punk, the people he described as the cancer in the locker room. And he goes, and they're gone now. And it was like, well, you mean CM Punk? No.
Even Dave come out was like, it's not CM Punk. You never see him quote tweet that. Fucking hell.
No, it's not CM Punk. You know who it is.
Rusev, is it? And the lads who went back to WWE.
Rusev, Aleister Black.
Yeah.
Like,
not Andrade now, because he's back home.
Not Andrade now in there. I wondered what, you know, it was very interesting piece. It was interesting to see Ariel Helwani he had a hornswoggle on the same show, mind. But so it says a lot about him where he is in there as well. But so we kind of almost like at the end, very, very briefly, because I
want to end positive, JP. Come on.
Well, I don't think you're going to end positively on this. It was Noah's Wrestle Odyssey at Sumo Hall, which drew the New Japan show drew 5,200, which was 1,000 down on the same show last year. And people are saying, well, there's no Naito. And it's like, well, Naito couldn't have been able to walk into the fucking arena, let alone have a fucking main event match. But anyway, I digress. But they drew 3,600 for this. And I have to say, like, I felt let down by a lot of this show on here. I mean, the best match on the card, and I think by quite some distance, is there's a junior tag match between Daga, you remember him, and Daiki Odashima, who's a guy who's been in wrestling for less than a year, very small, but has all the fire in the world. Junior heavyweight tag match against Alpha Wolf and Dragon Bane in there, who were fucking great. They had some cracking.
In our Discord, JP bigging that up today. Yeah. He was absolutely bigging that one up. Like,
they had, honestly, it was 15 minutes of just all action, nuts junior stuff as well. And you've seen gifs of Alpha Wolf and Dragon Bane, and these are two guys. You look at them rather like Galeno, El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr.'s brother. the second of the lads, he won't be long there as well. He'll be going, and Noah, because of the WWE relationship, which they had Charlie Dempsey and Harlem Lewis on the show. Although you wouldn't know with Harlem Lewis, I can't even tell you if he's any good because he just didn't do fuck all in that match. Whereas Charlie Dempsey's actually quite good when it comes to mat wrestling stuff. I'd go along with that. Dare I say it?
Better than his dad.
Yeah, I'd say that. I'd say that already. Yeah, I think I said that after he challenged for like the fucking Triple Crown that time. But this match, like a hell of a lot of fun, and it's really worth seeking out. I think a lot of the rest of the show was fucking bang average, like, and it felt like a missed opportunity. For example, I mean, so you had a match between Kazuyuki Vegeta and Minoru Suzuki. So you're two grumpy old fellas, neither is which like doing jobs. So what do, they have a double count out because they're just fighting on the outside the whole time because neither of them will fucking lose. And you go, all right, that's kind of what you'd expect it to be. The junior heavyweight title match between Hiromu and Eita, I just didn't really care for it. It felt very slow. And considering I'd enjoyed Hiromu when he had his match with Kyle Fletcher at Forbidden Door, here it just didn't seem to work for me. And I was outright bored by the main event. Like I was nodding off during Kenta versus Masa Kitamiya because it was like, it's whenever you think about it, it'd be described as methodical pace, and you go, well, that's just code for boring. I was fucking bored during it. I really was. And then it was notable because Yoshiki Inamura, who's back from NXT, came back and he's challenging Kenta in November. So maybe he'll get the belt at that point. But Kenta's a bit of a busted flush, frankly, at this stage as well. And they haven't got Ozawa, who's their big young hope, in there as well. But I just thought it was fucking average, like this show in there as well. And it didn't feel like anything to kind of get particularly excited about outside of that junior match. So that's my review of Wrestle Odyssey, mate.
I tell you what, JP, considering we're old and 40 and a bit of like a Samoa Joe type challenge here and break emergency glass, I think we've done well, mate. Five promotions we've covered tonight. We've covered the news as well. Broke shows down, give opinions. I mean,
that's it.
I've
even managed to hold some news back for the weekend show. I'm massively impressed. I can't argue with any of that. So that takes us to the very end of the show. And the one thing we haven't done is we haven't plugged the Patreon in there as well. So if you want more of this goodness, if you want to watch us doing it live, get yourself over to Patreon, patreon.com/grapple, or our YouTube, where you go to youtube.com/@grapple.
And also, JP, we've had obviously our glorious, industrious leader himself, who's having that well-earned break, we'll say once again, is his other project, JP, him and the great Michael Hamflett, the linchpin Michael Hamflett, the
Mickey H,
unbelievable soul and man that he is, over there with Benno doing the In Your House podcast. Yes, great stuff. They're on In Your House 12, I believe, at the minute. It's time. I'm just catching up, JP. I loaded them all up when I went to Vegas and got through a few, but obviously, and then other stuff in between's happened. So I've been catching up a lot the last like month or so. So I'm on, just finished Beware the Dog. So I'm on the next housekeeping after that. So I'm catching up, JP, really enjoying it, loving the time period, getting Steve the times I'm in now, just on June 96, going into In Your House 9. But yeah, the lads are way ahead here on In Your House 12. So give them a watch and a like and a comment and all that good stuff, JP. And as we said earlier on our plugs, JP, we had the last of ECW this weekend, just gone with the great Carl Gack breaking down the end of ECW. Paul Heyman gets 2 foot off all of us, doesn't he, at the beginning of that show, JP? And rightfully so,
scandalous,
to be fair. But as I say, we've got a Metallica film club, some kind of monster coming up this weekend with Martin Bushby. That really don't like to go overboard on shows, but I honestly was buzzing, JP, afterwards, and I hope it turns out well for everyone to listen to this weekend. Yeah, JP, obviously a lot of stuff going on this month with a special guest. But I've always wanted to do this bit, JP. Can I do this bit at the end? Yeah.
Go on.
Obviously, big thanks to our to the listeners who stayed tonight, who've watched along with us, and great numbers have stayed for the Ben show. So thank you to that for staying with us and sticking with us. And special thanks to our patrons and YouTube members, with extra special thanks to our Patreon kings and Queen of the Mountain, Conor O'Loughlin, Eddie Sideburns, Chris Platt, Carl Gack, Sophia Hitchcock, Simon Mulvaney, and Marty Ellis. And if there's anything else, JP, to be said, mate, is there anything to be said at all at the end of this show?
Well, all I've got to say is bye.
Ta-ra.